What the hell happened there, man? It's falling off StreamYard. What the fuck was that all about? Hold up. Anyway, it's the new song.
Between earth and God, I'm a byproduct. I come from a family of hustlers.
StreamYard, get your shit together and start the song from the beginning.
Between earth and God, I'm a byproduct. I come from a family of hustlers. That byproduct, money is the root of all evil. But I'm still trying to find a large profit. It's a mirage, they live in a facade. I was smoking thigh, had a talk with God. She told me why she named me John. I art the scriptures to shed light on the darker picture. If you my dog, I'm barking with you. You feeling the star wisdom. My homie Chuck told me it was giants on earth before me. And chemtrails, we inhale. That's another story. Mercury is used to check temperature. The sun is the spirit sink in the moon is the portal. Assuming you important. Set your turn. Mars is wars as the M turn. And change words. I'm in the game, but change service. I'm about to disassemble a bomb. I ain't nervous.
Drake, Dragon, Draco, Draconian, land of the giants, ice wall, Patagonian, lexicon, word wizardry, speaking Babylonian, highways of the vortex, shooting out the fallopian, low vibrating light, king of the material, mark of the beast, nanotech, scanning serial, the mental dead, carried by 6 to your burial, the lights is out. No resurrection, broken power grid, no interconnection. The Grim Reaper, I'm so collecting. 6-shot, hollow tip, rubber grip, Smith & Wesson. Bitch, repent when God is in your presence. Your aura is weak, uproot your essence. I walk through darkness, highly illuminated. Eyes blazing with fire, with blades double serrated. Hunting down clowns I double hated. Hit so hard your jaw is elongated. Shatter egos like they was glass plated. This was long overdue, past dated. One shot deal, it is as is and no recreation. All praises due to my parents for making. Always appreciate and never abated. One.
The A is the M, like the A is the E. Where earlier I said, hey, you know how somebody say, hey. That's AI. And that's the dream, like, don't people say, hey, I'm dreaming. Am I dreaming?
What it do? Peace, J Heighten, Super Sidewinder, what's up? I think I'm gonna switch books from the Book of Giants to the Book of Forbidden Knowledge. This book, Forbidden Knowledge, who wrote this? It was written by... I don't know. Let's see what the Book of Forbidden Knowledge is about. So, how did people like that song? I think my verse was fire, Drop's verse was fire, but I'm never satisfied. I wanted to redo my verse. But it's already stamped. And I think that space in between me and Drop's flow, I gotta fill that in. Because there's just too long of a space. But other than that, I like it. It's a beautiful day. They're already spraying spray. Oh man. So I can't upload those pics. I gotta go and shorten them. Of course I do. Anyway, I'll do that later. So let's start with the Book of Forbidden Knowledge. It says the title of this is Divination, or How to Obtain Knowledge of Future Events. Let's see what this is about. I mean, I was going to read the Book of Giants, but the next chapter is 35 pages long. And plus, I'm going to save that book to do a sort of like a children's book. It says any person fasting on Midsummer Eve. Perfect way to start it off. Any person fasting on Midsummer Eve and sitting on the church porch will at midnight see the spirits of the persons of that parish who will die that year come and knock at the church door in the order and succession. I can't read today. In the order. Let's start this over. I started off rocky. Any person fasting on Midsummer Eve and sitting on the church porch will at midnight see the spirits of the persons of that parish who will die that year come and knock at the church door in the order and succession in which they will die. But that can't be good. What would you rather do? Know you're gonna die or not know and die? One of those watchers there, being several in company, fell into a profound sleep, so that he could not be waked. While in this state his ghost was seen by the rest of his companions knocking at the church door. Any unmarried woman fasting on Midsummer Eve and at midnight laying a clean cloth with bread, cheese, and ale, and sitting down as if going to eat, the street door being left open, the person whom she is afterward, that don't even make sense, the person whom she is afterward to marry will come into the room and drink to her by bowing, and afterward filling the glass, will leave it on the table and making another bow, retire. On St. Agnes night, the 21st of January, or shall we say January, take a row of pins and pull out every one after another, saying a paternoster on sticking a pin in your sleeve, and you will dream of him you shall marry. Another method to see a future spouse in a dream. The party inquiring must lie in a different country from that in which he commonly resides, and on going to bed must knit the left garter about the right-legged stocking, letting the other garter and stocking alone, and as you rehearse the following verses, at every comma knit a knot. This knot is a knit. This knot I knit to know a thing I know not yet, that I may see the man that I don't want to say that. I don't want a man. She says this stupid thing, and then it says, and what he does all days and years accordingly in a dream, he will appear with the insignia of his trade or profession. Another performed by charming the moon, thus at the first appearance of the new moon, immediately after the New Year's Day, Go out in the evening and stand over the spears of the gate or stile, and looking onto the moon, repeat the following lines. It says, all hail to thee, moon, all hail to thee, whatever. It says, I prithee, I prithee, good moon, reveal to me this night who my husband must be. The party will then dream of their future husband, a slice of the bride cake thrice thrown through the wedding, and laid under the head of the unmarried woman. To make them dream of their future husband. And then the next chapter is how to receive oracle dreams. He who would receive true dreams should keep a pure, undisturbed, and imaginative spirit, and so compose it that it may be made worthy of knowledge and government by the mind. For such a spirit is most fit for prophesying, and is a most clear glass of all things. When therefore we are sound in body, not disturbed in mind, our intellect not made dull by heavy meals or strong drinking, not sad through poverty, not provoked through lust, not incited by any vice, not stirred up by wrath or anger, not being irreligiously and profanely inclined, not given to levity nor lost in drunkenness, but chastely going to bed, fall asleep. Then our pure and divine soul, being free from all the evils above recited, and separated from all hurtful thoughts, and now freed by dreaming, is endowed with this divine spirit as an instrument, and both receive those beams and representations which are darted down, as it were, and shine forth from the divine mind into itself in a deifying glass. There are 4 kinds of true dreams. The first, matutine, i.e. between sleeping and walking. The second, that which one sees concerning another. The third, that whose interpretation is shown to the same dreamer in the nocturnal vision. And lastly, that which is related to the same dreamer in the nocturnal vision, but natural things and their own commixtures do likewise belong unto wise men, and we often use such to receive oracles from a spirit by a dream, which are neither by perfumes, I think it says unctions, meats, drinks, rings, seals, etc. Peace, forever, love, 774. Now those who are desirous to receive oracles through a dream, let them make themselves a ring of the sun or Saturn for this purpose. There are likewise images of dreams, which being put under the head when going to sleep, it says doth. I don't know what doth means, but maybe it's supposed to be both and they mistyped it. Both effectually give true dreams, or whatever the mind has before determined or consulted upon, the practice of which is as follows. Thou shalt make an image of the sun, the figure whereof must be a man sleeping upon the bosom of an angel, which thou shalt make when Leo ascends, the sun being in the 9th house in Aries, Then you must write upon the figure the name of the effect desired, and in the hand of the angel the name and character of the intelligence of the sun, which is Michael. Let the same image be made in Virgo, ascending, Mercury being fortunate, in Aries in the ninth, or Gemini ascending, Mercury being fortunate in the ninth house in Aquarius, and let him be received by Saturn with the fortunate aspect, and let the name of the spirit, which is Raphael, be written upon it. Let the same likewise be made, Libra ascending, Venus being received from Mercury in Gemini in the ninth house, and write it upon it the name of the angel of Venus, which is, I think it's anal. It says Anael, Anael or Anael. I think it it looks like anal. Again, you may make the same image, Aquarius ascending, Saturn fortunately possessing the ninth in his exaltation, which is Libra, and let there be written upon it the name of the angel of Saturn, which is Cassiel. The same may be with Cancer ascending, the moon being received by Jupiter and Venus in Pisces, and being fortunately placed in the ninth house, and write upon it in the spirit of the moon, which is Gabriel. Black hole. That's funny. There are likewise made rings of dreams of wonderful efficacy. I think it's efficacy. Efficacy, that's it. There are likewise made rings of dreams of wonderful efficacy, and there are rings of the sun and Saturn. And the constellation of them is when the sun or Saturn ascend in their exaltation in the ninth, and when the moon is joined to Saturn in the ninth, and in that sign, which was the ninth house of the nativity, and write and engrave upon the rings the same of the spirit of the sun or Saturn. And by these rules you may know how and by what means to constitute more of yourself. But now this that such images work nothing, as they are simply images, except they are vivified by spiritual and celestial virtue, and chiefly by the ardent desire and firm intent of the soul of the operator. But who can give a soul to an image, or make a stone or metal or clay, or wood, or wax, or paper to live? Certainly no man whatever, for this arcanum both not enter into an artist of a stiff neck. He only has it who transcends the progress of angels and comes to the very archetype himself. The tables of numbers likewise confer to the receiving of oracles, being duly formed under their own constellations. Therefore, he who is desirous of receiving true oracles by dreams, let him abstain from supper, from supper, from drink, and be otherwise well disposed, so his brain will be free from turbulent vapors. Let him also have his bedchamber fair and clean, exercised and consecrated. Then let him perfume the same with some convenient fumigation, and let him anoint his temples with some unguent efficacious. I think it's efficacious. Oh man, efficacious. Yeah, efficacious hereunto, and put a ring of dreams upon his fingers. Then let him take one of the images we have spoken of, and place the same under his head. Then let him address himself to sleep, meditating upon that thing which he desires to know. So shall he receive shall he receive. I lost my spot. I'm not reading good today for sure. Oh man, this is wild. Maybe I just shouldn't read it all today. So shall he receive a most certain and undoubted oracle by a dream when the moon goes through the sign of the ninth revolution of his nativity, and she is in the ninth sign from the sign of perfection. This is the way whereby we may obtain all sciences and arts whatsoever, whether astrology, occult philosophy, psychic, etc., or else suddenly and perfectly with the true illumination of our intellect, although all inferior familiar spirits whatsoever conduce to this effect, and sometimes also evil spirits suddenly inform us in strength in man, intrinsically and extrinsically. I'll read this next one real quick. Dreams, tokens, and insights into futurity. The ring and the olive branch. Buy a ring, buy a ring. It matters. Buy a ring. It matters not it being gold, so as if it has the semblance of a wedding ring. And it is best to try this charm on your own birthday. Pay for your ring with some small bill. For whatever change you receive, you must give it to the first beggar you meet in the street. And if no one asks alms of you, give it to some poor person, for you need not. Alice, that's what it says, ALAS. Go far before you find one to whom your charity will be acceptable. Carefully note what they say in return, such as God bless you, or wishing you luck and prosperity, as is usual. When you get home, write it down on a sheet of paper at each of the four corners, and in the middle put the two first letters of your name, your age, and the letters of the planets then resigning as morning and evening stars. Get a branch of olive and fasten the ring on the stalk with a string of thread, which has been steeped all day in a mixture of honey and vinegar. Which has been steeped all day in a mixture of honey and vinegar, or any composition of opposite qualities, very sweet and very sour. Cover your ring and stalk with the written paper, carefully wrapped around and round. Wear it in your bosom till the ninth hour of the night. Then repair to the next churchyard and bury the charm in the grave of a young man who died unmarried. And while you are doing, repeat the letters of your own Christian name 3 times backwards. Return home and keep as silent as possible till you go to bed, which must be done before 11. Put a light in your chimney or some safe place, and before midnight or just about that time, your husband, that is to be, will present himself at the foot of the bed, but will presently disappear. If you are not to marry, none will come, and in that case, if you dream before morning of children, it shows that you will have them unmarried. And if you dream of crowds of men, beware of prostitution. Ha! This shit's funny. So most likely none are gonna show up. So what does that tell you, right? I'll read this next one. The Witch's Chain. Let 3 young women join together in making a lost chain. About a yard will do of Christmas juniper and mistletoe berries, and at the end of every link put an oak acorn. Exactly before midnight, let them assemble in a room by themselves, where no one can disturb them. Leave a window open and take the key out of the keyhole and hang it over the chimney piece. Have a good fire and place in the midst of it a long, thinnish log of wood, well sprinkled with oil, salt, and fresh mold. Then wrap the chain round it, each maiden having an equal share in the business. Then sit it down, and on your left knee let each fair one have a prayer book opened at the matrimonial service. Just as the last acorn is burned, the future husband will cross the room. Each one will see her own proper spouse, but he will be invisible to the rest of the wakeful virgins. Those that are not to be wed there will be a coffin or some misshapen form across the room. Go to bed instantly, and you will all have remarkable dreams. This must be done either on Wednesday or Friday night, but no other. Love's Cordial, to be tried the third night of a new moon. Take brandy, rum, gin, wine, and the oil of amber, of each a teaspoonful, a tablespoon of cream, and 3 of spring water. Drink it as you get into bed, and repeat, "This mixture of love I take from my potion, that I of my destiny may have a notion. Cupid, befriend me, new moon, be kind, and show unto me that fate that's designed." Wicked, wicked. You will dream of drink, and according to the quality or manner of it being presented, you may tell the condition to which you will rise or fall by marriage. Water is poverty, and if you dream of a drunken man, it is obvious that you will have a drunken mate. That sucks. If you dream of drinking too much, you will fall, well yeah, at a future period, into that sad era yourself, without great care. And what is a worse sight than an inebriated female? She cannot guard her own honor, ruins her own and family's substance, and often clothes herself with rags. Trouble is often used as an excuse for the vicious habit, but it gives more trouble than it takes away. I don't know, this book says the Book of Forbidden Knowledge, but it seems more like the Book of frickin' Magic or something. But yeah, I'm done with that bookie book. If anyone wants to hear my new song, no, it's not just my song. Me and Drop made another. We gotta fix that song up, man. It's gonna bother me if I don't patch it up. I'm gonna have to have a conversation about filling a few things in on that song. But I like my verse. I think it came out excellent. I think it's one of my best verses yet that I've put together. Yeah, you can use hair if you really want to cast a spizzy. What's up, Dominic? Gabriel? Oh, if anyone would like to come up, you're more than welcome to hit the stinky linky. Hold on, give me 1 sec. Alright. What do people got planned for today? Anything spectacular? I went on London's yesterday for a quick second, but I ended up smoking this Buddha Funk, and I was so wrecked off a bowl of it, I couldn't even really speak, man. I was so tore down from the floor down. That's cool, Dom. Oh, Mark, Basket, and Lucid, what's up, man? My fault. Yeah, anyone want to hit the link, you're more than welcome to. It's pretty much open topic. I'm not going to read that Book of Giants chapter 2. That's something I'll probably do as a book for like children and stuff. So my you know, that's more of like comic book type stuff. You know, if it really happened or not, who the heck knows? But yeah, it's more of a book of like entertainment. I was just gonna go through some more of these pictures I got from my cosmology project. People want to hear the new track me and Drop did. You know, I'm patching it up. Maybe Drop will leave it the way it is, but I gotta add something in because there's a long space in between. It was funny because Drop sent the beat, or I sent him 2 different beats with my verses on it already. Then Drop wrote something, which is fire, which you hear in the song. And he ended up sending the beat that he picked, and I wrote this verse that's on there. But I'm picky, and Mind's Eye has a little part in it too. But I want to fix a few things. So I just, well, that came out crappy, this picture. Came out real crappy, that picture. I finally found this map with really good pixels, which is awesome, because all the ones I've ever found are crap. And this picture has a piece of the North Pole land right there that I found. There's supposed to be a whirlpool around here, but they never show it. How about around this one? Yeah, there's a whirlpool and those two little islands that they don't put in these maps. They're only in that map by Urbano Monte and that other guy. Yeah, it's gonna definitely rain. Damn it, I gotta turn this picture sideways. And if people want to download or listen to the new song, I'm going to leave it on Sir Drop's channel for a while. And the reason why I'm doing that is so people can go to Sir Drop and listen to more of his music. Because people really, in my opinion, don't appreciate his craft. A lot of these so-called artists, or, you know, they don't even write their own music. Nowadays, to me, music sucks. I don't even want to call it music. Let's call it noise. Now, infrared. I found these pictures, and they were trying to clown and say that flat earthers think by using infrared, it shows that you can see further and prove we're on a plane. And he said, and it said, fact check. These people are clowns. On that documentary level, I think it is, the guy, this might be the picture actually. I used the infrared camera, and you could see for a long period of sight. How many miles you, hold on, how many miles you think this is? Couple hundred? Oh, now that's a picture I gotta fix. Alright, maybe I should play my song now while I show these pictures, since people are in here.
Between earth and God, I'm a byproduct. I come from a family of hustlers. That byproduct, money is the root of all evil. But I'm still trying to find a large profit. It's a mirage. They live in a facade. I was smoking thigh, had a talk with God. She told me why she named me John. I author scriptures to shed light on a darker picture. If you my dog, I'm barking with you. You feeling the star wisdom. My homie Chuck told me it was giants on earth before me. And chemtrails, we inhale. That's another story. Mercury is used to check temperature. The sun is the spirit sink into us. The moon is the portal, assuming you important. Set your turn. Mars is wars, says the M turn. And change words, I'm in the game, but change service. About to disassemble a bomb, I ain't nervous.
Drake, Dragon, Draco, Draconian, land of the giants, ice wall, Patagonian, lexicon, word wizardry, speaking Babylonian, highways of the vortex, shooting out the fallopian, low vibrating light, king of the material, mark of the beast, nanotech, scanning serial, the mental dead, carried by 6 to your burial, the lights is out. No resurrection, broken power grid, no interconnection. The Grim Reaper, I'm still collecting. 6-shot, hollow tip, rubber grip, Smith & Wesson. Bitch, repent when God is in your presence. Your aura is weak, uproot your essence. I walk through darkness, highly illuminated. Eyes blazing with fire, with blades double serrated. Hunting down clowns I double hated. Hit so hard your jaw is elongated. Shatter egos like they was glass plated. This was long overdue, past dated. One shot deal, it is as is and no recreation. All praise is due to my parents for making. Always appreciate and never abated. One.
The A is the M, like the A is the E. Where earlier I said, hey, you know how somebody say, hey. That's AI. And that's the dream, like, don't people say, hey, I'm dreaming. Am I dreaming?
If I could put my verse and fix it a little better, yeah, I'll check it out, Dom. Maybe I'll play it. I think my verse is fire. I just gotta fix a few things. Now, why would these people look this depressed? When I seen this picture, I was looking at it for a while, and these people should be doing backflips and excited. They look sad because they got to lie. That's what I think. This looks like a vagina, which it probably is. Whether these are real or not, I don't know. They could be photoshopped, but that's how I found them. Obviously, the other one is someone threw a rock in the ice. The other one could be I was gonna say a Virginia, a vagina. The virgin's vaginal. If any birds or bats fly out of that, it's giving birth to animals and shit. Drake, Dragon, Draco, Draconian, Land of the Giants, Ice Wall, Patagonian. They say that this is supposed to be Kronos right here. That this is Kronos' uh timepiece. I think that's funny. Dude. This right here is why people are like, why do you got an hourglass, Chuck Norris? I'll show you in a minute. Shit. Yeah, I seen that, Gabriel, the giant books and stuff. That's why I brought it up yesterday about the giants, you know, because they wrote stuff down and kept track. So where's all this stuff that the giants left behind? You know it's hidden in vaults somewhere. Um, you know, what knowledge did these giants have? You know what I'm saying? What were they keeping notes of? And I personally think they probably were doing the same stuff we are, man. Genetically creating stuff, working in labs. Like the little people probably stole from all the knowledge from the giants. Imagine a titan farting. It'd be like, boom. It would echo through the firmament and everything. See, people don't think of things like it's all funny and shit, but if titans existed, where do they poop? Right? It would be devastating. And people can't say, oh, they didn't poop. Yeah, they were eating us. So, maybe the dirt is dried up poop. Maybe that's what these mountains are, right? Petrified poop. I remember that show, The Days of Our Lives. I didn't watch it, but my mother loved that show. In the afternoon. Or coal could be, the tree roots, petrified tree roots. It could be a lot of stuff. When you start looking at the microcosm of the world, it's just as the macro. I'm thinking stuff where it's make a chart of titans all the way down to midgets, right? That's like infinite. Infinity, the creation in the form of infinity. So when we look through a microscope, all them little organisms are just as intelligent as we are, if not more. And this is why I made, or not made, this is the hourglass, because that's what this looked like to me, or a cheap ass wine glass. I think that top left corner reminds me of the thing you would put over a magnet. There's like this covering thing that shows you the energy that you can't see with the naked eye. It's like a filter you put on a magnet. It's Mount Meru energy. Alright, let me see. Might as well play a video if no one's coming up, dude. You know? Which I don't mind if no one comes up. Cause I does me regardless, yo. Yo. Do. Hey. If you're living in the world today, you would see that Michelle and Obama are gay. Excuse me, dude. Excuse me, dude. Let me find this link so I can see what people be talking about.
Best way to start selling on Amazon is not with the
Yeah. Okay. I had to switch over. the hell?
The mystery of our human civilization goes back much farther than we can imagine. There are 7 root races, or evolutionary cycles, through which humanity evolves. Each root race is divided into 7 minor cycles, called subraces, which are again subdivided into 7 branch or family races. These subdivisions are related to the modern concept of races and ethnicities. It must be stressed that the subraces refer to cultural qualities and not to the level of evolution of the soul. They are different evolutionary stages that humanity as a whole goes through successively. The same individuals that compose the current humanity have been reborn in all the previous root races. The root race Root races are stages in human evolution. In the esoteric cosmology of Theosophist Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, as described in her book, The Secret Doctrine, in the year 1888. These races existed mainly on now lost continents. According to Blavatsky's writings, there will be 7 root races assembled on Earth. Each root race is divided into 7 subraces. Only 5 root races have appeared so far. The 6th root race is expected to emerge in the 28th century. We are presently at the 5th stage, referred to as the Aryans. The word Aryans means noble in Sanskrit. There have been many Earth civilizations, of which we know nothing. These races evolved from ethereality to materiality. So every living organic species of animals and vegetation changes with every new root race. Every subrace and nation have their circles and stages of developmental evolution repeated on a similar scale. Our race then has as a root race crossed the middle line of the root races and is cycling onward on the spiritual side. The periods of the great root races are divided from each other by great convulsions of nature and by great geological changes. Every root race is separated by a catastrophe or a cataclysm. The basis and historical foundation of the fables woven later on into the religious fabric of every people, whether civilized or savage, under the names of deluges, showers of fire, and like the great flood. Our present continents have been submerged and had the time to reappear again and bear their new groups of mankind and civilizations, and that at the first great geological upheaval, at the next cataclysm, in the series of periodical cataclysms that occur from the beginning to the end of every round, our known continents will go down and the ancient continents will rise again. It must be remembered that the theosophical concept is that souls develop through an evolutionary process from mineral, plant, animal, and human. There is no transmigration backward, so a human cannot go backward to an animal, or a plant for example. Francis Bacon, whom Theosophy considers to be the legendary Count of Saint Germain, in his work The New Atlantis, in the year 1627, describes a potential future civilization which lives on the land called Ben Salem. The first root race, Polarian. The first root race was ethereal. They were composed of etheric matter. They reproduced by dividing like an amoeba. Earth was still cooling at that time. The first mountain to arise out of the stormy ocean was Mount Peru. They had huge translucent or transparent bodies, ovoid though somewhat fluid in form, with no bones or organs, and no hair or skin. they slowly grew more solid, but remained ethereal until the end. The race was sexless and propagated by fission. A large portion of the body separated itself and grew into a duplicate of its parent, similar to living cells today. In contrast to the huge and highly ethereal cells of the first race, our physical bodies today begin their existence as a microscopic cell or egg, a speck of gelatinous protoplasm which slowly hardens and grows into the human form. The second root race, Hyperborean.
What do y'all think about this so far? You know? Well, let it play and we'll discuss it afterwards. If anyone wants to hit the link, you're more than welcome to. If not, you're missing out.
The second root race lived in Hyperborea. They were semi-astral beings, but grew denser and more opaque with each passing age. Towards its end, it became more gelatinous and filamentoid in structure, and developed the rudimentary beginnings of bones and organs, hair and skin. Although still more or less void in form, they began to show the first outlines of the later human form. However, towards its end, its bodies passed through many curious part-animal forms. The second root race has no present-day descendants. The first two races were not fully human, as they had no self-conscious minds. Their consciousness was like that of someone in a daze or deep daydream. They were guided by spiritual instinct and were mentally much like children. The third root race, Lemurian. According to theosophists, existed in a large part of what is now the Indian Ocean, including Australia, and extending into the South Pacific Ocean. Its last remnants are the Australian continent, the island of New Guinea, and the island of Madagascar. Modern theosophists sometimes identify Lemuria with the actual ancient supercontinent of Gondwana. Others may refer to it as Mu. Lemuria sank gradually and was eventually destroyed by erupting volcanoes. According to traditional theosophy, the Lemurian root race began 34.5 million years ago, in the middle of what was then believed to be the Jurassic. The early third root race was hermaphrodite, or androgynous. The Lemurians were the first with physical bodies. They were described as a race of three-eyed giants and inhabited a lost continent of Lemuria. The first three subraces of the Lemurians reproduced by laying eggs, but the fourth subrace, beginning 16.5 million years ago, began to reproduce like modern humans. The Lemurians were endowed with a third eye at the top of the head. It was in fact the first eye, the two front eyes developing later. It is also known as the Eye of Shiva, the Wisdom Eye, or the Diva Eye. It was originally an organ of both physical and spiritual vision. With the development of increasingly material bodies and the separation of the sexes, the eye began to lose its power. It gradually petrified and finally disappeared from the outward anatomy of humans in the middle of the third subrace of the Atlanteans. Some describe the third eye of the Cyclops to be the pineal gland of the brain, or what today is known as the third eye of modern humans. As Lemuria slowly submerged due to volcanic eruptions, the Lemurians colonized the areas surrounding Lemuria, such as Africa, southern India, and the East Indies. The fourth root race, Atlantean. The fourth root race starts with a race of two-eyed giant humans, beginning about 60 feet tall, then decreasing to 20 to 30 feet tall, which got progressively smaller, until they reached modern human size. The descendants of the Atlanteans, according to traditional theosophy, include those of the Mongolian race, the Malayan race, the American Indian race, as well as some people of what in the 19th and early 20th centuries was called the olive-skinned Mediterranean race. The civilization of Atlantis. During the long period of time when Atlantis was ruled by the Toltecs, the ancestors of the Amerindians, the civilization of Atlantis was at its height. This was the period between 1,000,000 and 900,000 years ago, called the Golden Age of Atlantis. The Atlanteans had many luxuries and conveniences. Their capital city was called the City of the Golden Gates. At its height, it had 2 million inhabitants. The Atlanteans had airships, powered by the Vril, that could seat 2 to 8 people. The downfall of Atlantis started when some of the Toltecs began to practice black magic about 850,000 BC. Corrupted by the dragon, Devatat, remembered as Devadatta, the opponent of Buddha. Although they were opposed by white magicians, the war between the white magicians and the black magicians continued until the end of Atlantis. The masters of ancient wisdom telepathically warned their disciples, the white magicians, to flee Atlantis in ships while there was still time to get out before the final cataclysm. The Atlantean continent was gradually sinking while the new America was forming. Eventually it left behind a few islands, the bigger of which was Poseidonus, mentioned by Plato in his writings. The fifth root race, Aryan. Blavatsky asserted humanity was in the fifth root race, or Indo-European humanity, and like all major new races, received guidance from divine instructors. Since then, a series of migrations have taken place, and many civilizations have come and gone. This age of rapid material progress will last for another 427,000 years. The present-day ethnic group most closely related to the new race is the Kabayal. The bards of the new white root race poetically refer to the new race as being moon-colored. A small group of these Aryan migrants from Atlantis split from the main body of migrants and went south to the shore of an inland sea, a verdant and lush Sahara, where they founded the City of the Sun. The main body of migrants continued onward to an island called the White Island, in the middle of what was then an inland sea, in what is now called the Gobi Desert, where they established the City of the Bridge. The City of the Bridge was constructed directly below the etheric city called Shambhala, where Theosophists believe the governing deity of Earth, Sanat Kumara, dwells. Thus, the ongoing evolution of the Aryan root race has been divinely guided by the being Theosophists call the Lord of the World. The seeds of the sixth root race are already being sown, largely in the Americas, and will become fairly numerous towards the end of the Kali Yuga, subraces of the Aryan root race. Blavatsky described the fifth root race with the following words. The Aryan races, for instance, now varying from dark brown, almost black, red-brown, yellow, down to the whitest creamy color, are yet all one of the same stock. The fifth round will see the full development of manas, mind, the sixth of bhakti, intuitive wisdom, and the seventh of Atman, the inner divinity. If we make the grade successfully, we shall become like Buddhas. The sixth root race, Seal. According to Blavatsky, the sixth subrace of the Aryan root race will begin to evolve in the area of the United States in the early 21st century. This sixth subrace of the Aryan root race will be called the Australo-American subrace, and is believed by theosophists to be now arising from the Teutonic subrace of the Aryan root race in Australia and in the western United States. Many individuals of the new subrace will be born in California and its surrounding nearby areas. For example, the Australo-American subrace arising from the Anglo-American, Anglo-Canadian, Anglo-Australian, and presumably also the Anglo-New Zealand ethnic groups. The sixth, or Australo-American subrace, will possess certain psychic powers, and for this the pituitary body will be developed, thus giving us an additional sense, that of cognizing astral emotions in the ordinary waking consciousness. We may say that in general, the sixth subrace will bring in wisdom and intuition, blending all that is best in the intelligence of the fifth subrace and the emotion of the fourth. The seventh root race, Trumpet. The last race will have its spiritual deity, or Buddha for example, as every one of its predecessors had, but its adepts will be far higher than any other present race. For among them will abide the future planetary, the Dayan Kohen, whose duty it will be to instruct or refresh the memory of the first race, or the fifth round men, after this planet's future obscuration. By the middle of the seventh race, says an occult prophecy, the struggle of the two conflicting powers between Bhakti and Kamamanas will have almost died out. Everything that is irredeemably sinful, wicked, cruel, and destructive will have been illuminated, and that which is found to survive will be swept away from being. In the seventh root race, humanity will fuse mind and intuition with Atma, the inner spiritual self, and will then be able to function consciously as the higher self, the spiritual triad of Atma, Bodhi Manas. This development and advancement will in the far distant future eventually come out naturally for humanity. This world and the human race will not be destroyed, despite the multitude of doomsday sayers who insist that it will. Any apparent end is merely a new beginning, and the divine plan and purpose shall carry on, unabated, as the endless ages roll on.
Dude, that was fucking righteous, man.
Nah, that was a really good video. Cool video, Tom. Thank you. Oh, who's this? Hey, Chuck. What up? This is my guest today. His name is Chuck. Oh, Chuck's left the building. Yeah, the root race of the Aryan or the German. They turned that into some racist stuff as always, man. The only person winning the race and racism is the people at the top who created it. Racism. Bunch of excuses. That's what I think of racism. A bunch of excuses to not like somebody because of their shade of flesh. It's jam-packed with ignorance. Signs of a weak mind state, you know? You're gonna hate a group of people because of what one did to you. What's up, Dominic?
Morning, Charles.
That was a good video. Thank you for recommending that. Pretty damn good video.
I think there's quite a few of them out there on YouTube. As long as you just type in root race, and, maybe even put Helen's name on it, and there'll be a whole bunch of people that have actually shared their views on it, I guess. So, again, if you entertain it as ideal, then you start correlating it with the concept of what is transhumanism, metaphysical, like, you know, when they use these words, is there something they're aware of?
Yeah. I'm always aware of sometimes people will use big words, like, you know, like sometimes, like to make something sound good, or there's your, like everything, you have your upside and downside. It's that polarity, you know, depending on who's using the words. Like a lot of teachers or preachers, they we use big words, like I said, to make it sound good, or I don't know where I was going with that. It's tough when I'm trying to speak and I'm also thinking about something that has nothing to do with what I'm speaking on. It kind of interferes.
Well, this is where they throw like openly gang signs. I'm just using that as the example. Gang signs. They're counting on most people in the public. They're not going to understand what the gang signs mean and how they correlate with whatever message they're doing. So when you hear the media, which is just another form of gang signs, speaking, the masses are going to assume that they're talking to them. No, they're actually talking past them. So it's when you start becoming the observer of those things and say, well, if it has nothing to do with me, then I can take it for what it is. But for most people, the only reason why they'll pay attention to almost anything is because they assume, or it is all about them. So when they're talking about like even this concept of the root race, you know, some people might turn around and say, how does it serve? I'll use the word serve to know that we've evolved or devolved from other species, you know. But then again, if you don't know where you're going, if you want to know where you're going, you need to know where you've come from. And again, those are all possibilities, because the future is a possibility and so is the past. Unless you've lived it, then you're just in the moment at that point, I guess. I guess that's one of the advantages of having this device called YouTube, or people doing videos on YouTube or whatever platforms. It gives an opportunity, if they're actually trying to understand where they are and who they are, they can they can probably Google all this stuff. That's why they even put them in like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 hours, half a day. I think the one that Helen Blavatsky does is 3.5 days long when it comes to the audio version of it.
I'm here. I'm just trying to break some weed up by listening to what you're saying. Got to get my morning medicine. The best medicine provided by Mother Earth.
Is it for pain, Charles?
Huh?
Is it for pain?
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
My back's bothering me. Have screwed up my lumbar. Trying to be He-Man at work years ago. I did, you know, they teach you to bend your knees when lifting, right? Well, I deadlifted a double-seater in the coach bus. And, yeah, that was detrimental. And the next day I couldn't even get up. So when you lift things, they're not lying. You're supposed to bend your knees for sure. Unless you're just like all around diesel. I am Max. Peace. I am Chuck.
I'm pretty sure. Next thing I practice it, but I'm pretty sure doing all kinds of stretches probably aids prior to lifting anything. Breathing, learning how to breathe, or go through with the breath. But I'm sorry to hear that for you, Charles.
Yeah, this was about 13 years ago it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember calling the next day to call out of work early in the morning because I couldn't even get up. It was weird. I had to like roll off the bed and fall on the floor. It's like, and they're like, "Why didn't you report it?" And I'm like, "Cause it didn't hurt right away. It hurt, but not, like the next morning, or shall I say, yeah, the next morning." So I'm telling the lady, I'm like, I didn't report it because A, it didn't hurt that bad, and B, I need to work. I couldn't afford to just be like, I had bills to pay. Especially having your own place all by yourself, you're paying 100% of the bills. I couldn't just miss work like, I think I'll take a few weeks off. So, because you only have a certain amount of sick days. And then I made the mistake of going to their doctor. That's where I fucked up. Because all they were thinking about was lawsuit for some reason, you know. And yeah, their doctor, the doctor kept saying it was nothing. Oh, it's nothing. Like I was imagining shit. But anyway, enough of back pain and all that stuff. You concreted for 35 years. Pain is my mistress, and she never leaves. Yeah, I felt your pain just reading that. One time I did a concrete job. I think it consisted of about 40 bags of cement, and I had to mix all that on my own. We were doing a patio for a party in his backyard in New Haven, Connecticut. I'll never forget. I think it was the year 2002, 3, around there. Probably earlier than that. I don't remember. Somewhere in that area. But yeah, that was my first time ever mixing cement, carrying cement bags. I thought that job was worse than carrying roof shingles, because we had to get the person I was working with was using a what are them trucks called? Oh, like a blazer type truck. So we had to do like 3 different runs to get the cement. And guess who had to carry them all? The man at the bottom of the pyramid. But yeah, 35 years of that. And people don't realize the old school workers, they didn't have all these like machines and stuff to help you lift and all these gadgets. Back in the days when I started roofing, there was no machines to get the shingles up to the roof. You were carrying them shits, and if you did a 3-story house, you were fucked. When you're carrying shingles on your shoulder, climbing the ladder, and that bitch is wobbling, going in and out, and it's 3 stories up. I was scared of heights. And I'm still scared of heights, but for the most part, conquered it because I needed that guacamole. I wasn't gonna let that shit not get me, the money. I said, well, I guess today I'm either gonna fall or conquer my fear, and I conquered it. Not meaning like I'll jump off a roof, because I conquered my fear. I couldn't jump out of I can't say I couldn't jump out of an airplane. Because I've noticed one thing. When you fear something, right? Let's say jumping off a cliff into water and all that. Once you do it once and you realize there's nothing to fear, you want to do it again and again and again. So that's why I tell people, face whatever and conquer it. Because once you get it out the way, you're going to realize there's nothing to it. Now, if you're going to play Russian roulette with the automatic weapon, you're all alone on that one. You can face that fear by yourself.
So, Charles, what's fear then? To somebody that's experienced it, what's other words you can use to describe it?
Describe what?
Fear. If somebody had to, because we do it in many ways, is that a lot of people just don't correlate with what they are. So if you have some, if not, I can share some, but go ahead.
Other words for fear, like scared, yeah, go ahead. I'm trying to think of some.
So somebody's about to jump out of a plane, or somebody tells them that you're going to jump out of a plane. What are they fearing? What are they ignoring? What are they unaware of? That's what fear really is. Something you're unaware or you're ignoring it. That's why we have a sense of a healthy fear, a healthy way of being ignorant. But I get it. Fear for most people, they'll associate it to being scared. Well, what are you being scared of? Have you done it before? Go ahead.
If I remember jumping off a cliff in the water. My fear was not knowing what's going to happen, and that's why I said once you do it and you conquer it, you realize there was nothing to fear in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To me, it was just it's so high up. Excuse me. I didn't know the outcome, like, or in this case, I might go hiking tomorrow, and if I could record, I haven't been there in like 20 years, so probably more. I have to see, what's going on up there, because I looked from Google Earth, and it seems things have changed. So they like put in some new road there, so I don't know what's going on. They connected. It's weird. There's a bunch of different reservoirs, and to me, I think they're like old. They look like old quarries, and what they did was block one side of the quarry off and just fill it with water. That's what I'm thinking they did with these places. That's what they look like. But we used to jump off these huge cliffs, and there was a rock, and the story was somebody jumped and miscalculated, and he broke his leg, and they had to save him out of the water. And every time I'd walk up to the edge of the cliff, I would look and see that rock, and it would get all sorts of thought. It would, chemically imbalance me, activate that fear, and I would start thinking, what if I miss? What if I hit the rock? What if that's me with a broken leg? What if? So you just run and leap. That's it. Make sure you wear shoes, you don't F your feet up, and just conquer that shit. You realize there's nothing to fear. But jumping out of an airplane, my fear is that parachute don't open.
Okay, so then what are you really fearing? Sorry, Charles. What are you at that point? What are you really fearing? The known or the unknown? Are you fearing death?
The unknown, yeah. That's the unknown.
Okay. It's just a simple question. This is me talking to a buddy. Have you ever experienced death?
Well, I have, somewhat. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. At that point, some of my buddies might turn around and say, "Don, but my dad died." I said, "But have you experienced it?" No. So you're fearing. You're being ignorant about something you've never experienced. Now, I can get it when somebody says, "Don, I fear pain." I say, because you probably experienced it. But if you've never experienced it, do you see the energy that people put towards something that's never going to happen? And even if it does, you're probably no longer here. I get when people talk about, well, I had a near-death experience. I said, are you sure? Or are you just blabbing with words? Have you ever been in a coma? No. So how would you not know it's not the same? Again, it fears, it's unaware and ignorant. You're ignoring something. Now, if somebody's able to explain it to you and associate, yeah, when you jump out of a plane, Charles, there's this parachute. It's been well packed. We have a secondary parachute. After about so many seconds, that one doesn't work. You pull it, and another one comes out. Once you've been walked through it, you realize you've never actually had any fear of the thing that you fear most, which is something you've never experienced. Jumping off of a cliff and you're not going to die, or you've never experienced it, then what would be the one that actually prevalence to you? I'm using the wrong word, but it would be what, breaking an arm, breaking a leg. Now, you did state something. There was somebody else. This is where people heighten things from extremities to one to the other. One person succeeds in life, so therefore we all can do it. No, it doesn't work that way. One person hurts himself on a cliff doesn't mean we all do that. Now, the question would be, do I have all the information on how or why that person fell off that cliff? No. So the only thing you're knowing is for yourself, you're bringing the same story. If you've never experienced it, then why would you fear it? Unless you embrace information, how to learn new things. I embrace change. So I'm very limited when it comes to wanting to control things. People can take advantage of that. I said, no, only because you're doing that to yourself. I'm caught up in your web. So I'm just playing with words here, Charles, because I get it. People do fear things that never come to fruition. And when it does, you're probably already popped out of that vessel. And I'm making that assumption that we are spiritual beings, that we can look back at that vessel like, interesting. And some people have said that, but it doesn't mean we all can experience that. And of course, when people do brain altering things, whether it's liquor or weed or whatever, it can heighten those concerns. That's why it's not actually usually advantageous for
Or
people.
numb them, right?
Well,
like if you drink alcohol and you fear something, you might be drunk and that fear would be gone because you ain't thinking straight for sure. So I'm speaking through experience. Like even fighting, I've been nervous to fight someone drank, and I had that liquid courage, you know, it numbed that fear.
Well, liquid courage, yeah, because there's something within all of us that can come to the forefront when needed. It's a protecting mechanism. You know, it's like a mother that's seeing their child being harmed. There's a strength that will come over her, and especially if they tap into it. Like, there's people that will fight consciously, and then there's other people will fight. They just go into a different, like they're so fearful, they're so unaware that they start punching for no reason. I have a couple of buddies, when they start drinking, when they start fighting people, they're doing it consciously. So it's like, hey, Dom, I was drinking last night. No, that was an excuse. You know exactly what you were doing. You know, which is fine. Again, it's not harmful. Most people that go into those kind of situations usually have some animosity or anger within themselves, so they needed to project it outwards. And it would be better served if you were, you go to the boxing gym or whatever, harness that energy, do sports of some sort, do some musical instrument or something. If we're just talking about anger. As far as the injury you have, I'm going to be talking as a hypocrite because I don't do all those necessary practices like stretching, making sure that I understand my circumstances, but it will reveal what we're a slave to. What you said, Charles, I can relate to. I have to go to work. Well, then that just proves, what am I a slave to? The ideal of chasing money, chasing our comforts, chasing our needs. And the more you earn it, the more you become more enslaved to it. Now you might have some more settlements, some more comforts. I don't have to work every day per se, but somebody might turn around and say, "Yeah, but you have all that money." That's a different type of shackle that I have on. Mine's more pink. And this is how we harm each other, because the industry will understand. Yeah, that guy eventually is going to go back to work because he needs the money. So at that point, you can't, when you get hurt, you can't expect somebody else to say, when they say to you, "Well, why didn't you tell us? But why didn't you report it?" I said, "Well, I didn't realize the pain where it was." Eventually the body reminded me the day later or 2 weeks later. And the reason why they do it's called damage control, because that's all about insurance for them. It's not about you. Once you realize you're a slave, it's not about you. In other countries, you just be replaced.
They didn't try. They put me on light duty, and they tried to cut my pay. I was like, they're tripping. And they were worried about a lawsuit because the lady, she didn't have non-slip shoes because they didn't require them. And this is the wash crew, third shift. These are like coach buses. Like you could. DACO is a bus company. They had school buses, but we did the coach, which are like luxury buses. They had hundreds and hundreds of them, but the lady slipped coming down the stairs from the bus. I forgot she broke something. And not only did she sue them, right? Check this shit out. They couldn't fire her. So she would go to work every day. That's wild. I worked with her a bunch of times and they didn't like her. Imagine suing somewhere and they can't fire you. That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of industries are set up that way, Charles. Again, it's the responsibility of each person. I know a lot of times we just check that box that says I agree, but not realizing a lot of times you've actually harmed yourself. So in that case, The suing part, did you ever end up going to court and winning anything? Because you
Not
can sue
me. She
anybody.
did.
No, I know, but did she win? Did she go to court and win the case?
Yeah, she
And
got
what did she?
paid. And,
Okay, how much? Okay, she got paid. So there's insurance involved. So the insurance are going to probably punish the company. They'll put up a lot of fronts. So it's really not about her. They're not concerned about their health. You know, it's business. It's like having a computer. Once it's one of its I don't know, sockets are broken, they just replace it. You know, it's just when people go to work, as sad as this may sound, Charles, it's when people go to work and they think that the company's there for you. No, that's very erroneous. Unless it's a small company and the company owner is a family person or family woman and they care about you just as a company, which is great. But in big corporations, it's all about the same reason why most people go to work for. It's about the fiat currency. It's not about, oh, I'm sorry, Charles, and all that. No, Charles, if they could roll you to the end of the driveway, they would roll you to the end of the driveway. And they would probably pay somebody else and then get upset the fact that they have to pay him to do that. You know, that's where people get caught up in the illusion. It's like when you have a cell phone. There's an agreement on that. It says this can affect you with the EMS. And then people turn around and say, well, they should have told us. No, they did. That's why they have paperwork. That's why they have those contracts. So when you go to court, they'll say, great, no problem, take us to court. And then once you waste all your money to go to court and say, but didn't you not sign this? Well, I didn't know. I said, ignorant doesn't count here. That's why the body gets upset, because it's not the people that are harming it. It's the ongoing program within oneself that's being so ignorant. I'm talking as a hypocrite now, because this is being recorded. Hopefully there's future generation of folks say, we'll do everything that Dom and Charles didn't do. You know, we'll avoid what they're doing. You know, the ones that are basically living a healthy and they're stewarding their vessels and all that, those are unicorns to me. They're few and far between. Most of us could turn around and say, yeah, but I'm living a very healthy lifestyle. And I said, yeah, but you're living in a city, aren't you? Well, yeah. Are you aware how those EMFs and how Wi-Fi and all that affects that vessel? Well, yeah. I said, well, then you're not stewarding your vessel. You're actually harming your vessel. And that's most of us. And we're using a device right now. Like I said, Charles, I'm okay being the hypocrite, because I still don't mind talking about it. Other people say I got to be perfect before I can talk about this shit. Good luck with that shit. You're going to be waiting a long time before that happens. So in this particular case, we're the ones. I get it, Charles. I have buddies that worked in the bricklaying industry, roofers and all that kind of stuff. You know, me being an electrician, I got to talk to a lot of the different trades, and I realized, again, that's all human behaviors. You know, we carry things way too heavy for us, and we do it for long periods of time. We live in an age now where most of us go home, watch TV, so those uncomfortable chairs or couches will harm us. You get the occasional older guy that just was built differently, and usually they have calluses hands. They have a very simple life. They don't do any other activity outside of maybe doing some gardening, which is probably healthy for them because they're doing some grounding. But outside of that, they're a machine. We're constantly a machine at that point. And then once a person finally gets hurt, then they find out exactly what they've been the whole time. You've been a replaceable machine. You know, I get the light duty too, by the way, Charles. But again, if I'm an owner of a company and most of them were forced to say, well, I'll give them at least light duty. I say, well, I'm not going to pay them the full amount. Now, you might turn around, or somebody might turn around and say, but I can't live off of that. That's not my problem. It's like when I used to tell my buddies, go ahead, Charles.
You just find someone else if you say that.
Sure. I remember my buddy used to tell me,
they ain't worried about it. You're fired next.
I remember when I used to have, I call them buddies, but I call them apprentices. They were apprentices working at a company, and they thought at one particular time that they deserve a raise. I said, okay, so what do you offer to the company? Well, Dominic, I've been working more. I said, well, okay, but this is what you're getting for pay now. But what are you going to offer to the company? Are you going to use your hands more? Or are you going to use your brain more? Some guys will say, well, I need more money. I said, so let me understand that you just bought a new house and you think you need more money. I said, so then how would it be if I went into the office and I told the boss, I said, I just bought a Ferrari. No, it shouldn't be based on that. It's based on what can you bring to the company. Because if that's the case, if it's based on what you buy because you're so bored and you're out of your skull and you got to buy a cottage or whatever, then you're replaceable. And if most people, like I get it, Charles, we're going to talk about this. Most athletes would not pay themselves that amount of money if they were the owner. Unless the owners are getting things for free, like they're getting their Their stadiums for free. They're getting tax breaks for free. They're printed money for free. Outside of that, most of those athletes are being conditioned from childhood to have a few positions to entertain the masses. They're not farmers. They're not hunters, not to take away from their craft, but they're there solely to fucking entertain the masses. That's the Coliseum over and over again. Now, they might turn around and say, well, Dominic, but I earned all this money. I said, and who's building all your cars? Who's building all your houses? At this point, you're just dribbling a fucking basketball or hitting a fucking baseball. And the only reason it works with the mass is because they've been conditioned the same way. Now, that's a little bit of a tough one to hear and all that, because most people are too busy drooling their mouth and say, I would like to be Michael Jordan or whatever. I said, that may be true, but hey, better understand what walk-ins are. It's not this Michael Jordan being the athlete. There's a fucking other bunch of demons playing with him. Now, there could be demons. They could be something else, you know. But I'm so sorry to hear that for you, Charles, because you got, like most of us, we get sucked into the system and then we redirect our energy towards something that's usually nonsense. Like, I'm mad at them. No, they don't give a shit about us. And why would they?
Got to figure out how to maneuver through the system. You know, use it to your advantage. Because regardless, you either do that or it's just going to eat you up and spit you out. The system don't give a fuck about nobody. Like you're saying, it's up to yourself to care about yourself. It kind of is a dog-eat-dog world for the most part.
Puppy mill mentality, which is true. A lot of people treat this realm like it's puppy mill mentality. Got to eat everybody else, but yet they want to collude together with different kinds of group. I said, but you guys, then you're all you guys are my enemies. Then that's why the elites keep their enemies close, because that's how they know it. They're going to get a guy like Saddam Hussein that's going to that slip away a little bit, or you're going to get a Gaddafi that says, okay, I really care about my people. No, you don't. You care that you give the impression that you give a shit, that your people care about you, and vice versa. Truth of the matter is, those are in clubs. And that club will turn on itself when they realize somebody thinking, well, I'm going to turn a new leaf. I'm going to be more egotistical than the rest of you. Good luck with that. But yeah, Charles, I think it brings value to some, if not a lot, if they want to work with the system. Would that imply that they have to understand how the system works, not just based on their anger or their frustration? But that doesn't move the system. Anything else, it'll be a temporary chaos for them. Part of the system, Charles, is that we spend an enormous amount of energies working and sheltering. Working to obtain the food and shelter for a vessel that's not us.
You got to maintain the car. That's the vessels, like driving your Honda.
And stewarding. I'm not saying I'm doing it, and when I do it probably very poor job at it. Now, other people might compare, they're doing a better job to me, but I've openly admitted I don't do a good job. So why don't you compare it to somebody that is actually stewarding the vessel with more health? It's always like when buddies talk about, that have done well financially and they compare themselves to other people that haven't done well. I said, why don't you play the game with the bigger boys? Why don't you millionaires go talk to the billionaires out there in the world and then make that comparison? Talking to people that are just average blue collar and white collar workers, that's a worthless game. So are we actually in the shift now with the root race? Sorry, Charles, I went way too to the left on that one. Unless you want to talk about these things, frequencies.
My question about these races, that video is, where are they getting their sources? Like, who's writing this stuff down? Where did it come from? Because I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I was just thinking, you know, where is this information stored?
Well, you shared something the other day there, and I kind of said you were channeling when there was a concept about time, and you said light. And I asked you, are you channeling it? And sometimes we say things we don't know where it come from. Hence why you're always you're probably, if you're ready to be the student, because many teachers will come from within and channel through your vessel. So in this case, there's probably people out there, they're probably channeling information. Now, it's still the responsibility of each other people when they hear this stuff is to question it from within. To find out if there's validity to it. Should I be adding to it? Is it full of crap? You know, these are things that you should be challenging from within. Challenging the messenger is waste of energy, because that's usually an indication the person already has their own stories in themselves and they're too lazy to do anything, but yet they're willing to do the effort of questioning somebody else, the way they talk, why they're talking. You know, the same like where the colors come from. How do people know how to organize colors? This is why in the old days where you would hear certain people, scientists, whatever, they would learn their craft, but then would have to do some sort of mind altering or brain altering substance like cocaine or weed. And next thing you know, things would click. And then they would come out of that state and say, I know what the new formula is. They're communicating with some other realm. Now, whether that unknown realm is deceitful, trying to care for humanity, that's here or there, because that's an individual basis. You know, if I want to be filthy and I don't really give a damn how I do it, would it matter to me if it's a demon or an angel communicating with me? But if I'm actually concerned about, I want to be well off, but yet I want to make sure I'm helping other humanity, well, that's a long, more stringed out program that the universe has to work with, because the other one's a common, dime a dozen. So I'll give you whatever you want, and you don't give a shit about the human race? No, I don't. Well, I kind of do, but I don't know. Either or. Which one are you going to give me here? You know, and if people were honest with themselves, that's what they want. So we shouldn't be looking at the elites like, oh, you're doing something that's cruel. No, it's just because you're holding the bag of shit in your hands. That's because you've chosen to work for that system. We all do, Charles, in so many different ways. You know, we're talking about a program that we're here, that people could be on chat. It's being recorded. You can give emojis to it, meaning you can actually do all this other stuff. This is beyond the scope of an individual human being to grasp this, meaning that they can create all of that. And meanwhile, as they're doing this for one channel, in this case yours, they're doing this for thousands, if not millions of channels as we speak. So who's giving us that technology? You know, it goes back to, how does Wi-Fi really work, and how does error really work? Back to your initial, one of your questions, you know, how did they get this information? So that they're able to write it. On the human level, it's manifested in the physical. But most of that stuff is done in the unknown. This is where people would call it chaos. Hey, Faceplant.
What's up, Faceplant? Like I look at a lot of stuff, you know, on light and vibration. I don't think the stars are really that difficult to figure out, you know, what they truly are. Like I said, I think this place is a machine of some sort. You know, the stars, the sun, the light, where the light's coming from.
Mic check.
We hear ya.
Yeah, Dom, that's interesting what you're saying about the unicorn, as you call it. Trying to be the exception to the rule about working that either working for a company or splitting up their own. Each has their own downfalls, and yeah, a person's ego will push them into like a short life, fast end life. I've seen it. A lot of guys that I work with are dead, and some of them went out on their own and just tried to go too far and didn't bust. Some guys stayed with the big company and just worked them to death. You know, retired with $1 million and died. You know?
So true. Faceplant. One of my buddies used to say, because we're getting to that age where they said, I'm close to retirement. I said, the word that comes to the mind is retarded. But I get it. We got to go to work. We do all of this stuff, you know. It's kind of like a marriage agreement. Till death do you part. So in this case, for most guys, they're going to be divorced or they're going to die, and their money will be separated from them. You know, 'cause I get it. A lot of guys work and they enjoy working. Even when they work for themselves, they're technically actually working for even more now. You know, they're working for the tax man. They're working for the people that do the administration for them. Now they have to babysit their company. Part of our existence while we're here, obviously.
All this tax on everything, and I've noticed too, in the city I live in, I was walking down the street the other day, and I was thinking, man, every other year they're ripping up the same roads. In the city, they're always ripping these fucking roads up and repaving them. Seems every other year the same freaking streets.
Because some friend of a politician has the contract.
It's crazy.
Well, guys, it's because I don't know about your faceplant, but Charles, I know you live in the States. You have a country that prints the money aimlessly. So if you lived in a country where it was run by business people and they had to earn the money, you wouldn't see those. It would be well organized, and they would probably line up. Okay, when do we replace the plumbing? When do we do the curbs? Here it's kind of like, yeah, just keep the citizens going, keep printing the money.
Yeah, keep them busy.
Yeah,
keep
it's
them
all built.
Distracted.
It's all built on top of the old world infrastructure that our controllers didn't build, and they don't know how to maintain it. And what kills me is what kills me. They don't know how. They didn't build it, so they don't know how to maintain it. They just sell it off to their friends for $1, so their friends can make money off of it. But what really bugs me is what the hell really happened in the 1800s. I mean, less than 200 years ago, there was all this technology, beneficial technology and health and everything, and music. And how in the hell did they hide all that stuff? That's what really kills me. How did they hide I mean, they're good at what they do. I mean, it's brilliant how they took over the old infrastructure and changed the language.
Wouldn't that be faceplant when the what plays a role in that is they introduced the British way of education schooling system. It has about 200 years old. So all that indoctrination distracts us. So get them to learn all this labor stuff so they can continue doing their ongoing technology and us totally oblivious to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like all of the universities, though, especially here in Canada, most of those are all Cambridge and not Harvard, but yeah, Cambridge, way of teaching their students. You know, spend a whole bunch of money, get them to chase some fossil. As we're working with nuclear energy, but we'll call it nuclear war.
Yeah, and still we don't even repeat formulas, and we don't even know what they mean. Like, oh, E equals MC squared, when it's just freaking nonsense. But it's supposed to sound smart, and we don't know what it is, so we say E equals MC squared, and they're laughing at us.
It's easier to control a society, the masses, when you teach how to read or write, opposed to people that used to just think for themselves, or this think. Forget about thinking for themselves. They would think. You know, they would speak. You know, they would understand each other. They would understand sound, or at least they would see the patterns in sound. But now a lot of us have been. It's kind of like having a calculator. Once you introduce the calculator, you're dumbing down a person. Yeah, but we can do all these amazing things. I said, no, the calculator can do that, not you. You're just learning how to actually work behind the program now.
Yeah,
Calculator is shortcut.
Yeah. Memorize the formula, but don't know how it works. Mm-hmm. Just to plug the formula into the problem and run and come up with your solution without knowing how it works. Well, yeah, that was my problem. I wanted to know how and why the formula works.
Mm-hmm. You want to break it down at that point.
Yeah, I wanted to understand the origins of it, understand it from its root.
Yeah, because if you can break it down, you should be able to fix it and even improve it. Where today it's kind of like, no, just bring it back to the shop. We'll refurbish it. Or hey, how about you guys just push this one button, push emoji, push subscribe, and we'll notify you. People don't realize how much they're being programmed as even on these channels. You know, hey, by the way, just put an alias name. We'll give you the pictures to put on here, and then eventually you'll be intermixing with AI and don't even know who actually you're talking to anymore. Now, people say, yeah, but it's more convenient, it's quicker and all that. I say, yeah, but how does it serve for the person that has a different learning curve? For most of this is beyond most people's comprehension. But yet, this is how I think the Germans had it, a way of thinking of it. Now, I'm not saying I'm agreeing with it, but they should have went one way or the other, where we'll be the superior race. No, fuck it, you should have been the only race at this point. Why? Because the superior race, what? You're going to be dumbed down, and then you have to make everybody else even more dumbed down than you? The superior race, or somebody that's more superior, would have tried to encourage other people to start catching up a little bit. Not the other way around, where, yeah, I'm going to dumb myself down so much, but I'm going to make the rest of you dumb down. And this is what this shit does. Go ahead.
So the controllers are gaslighting, like they pump up the soldiers to tell them that they're great because they're this race or that race or whatever, and using their ego to control them to for their own gain.
True. There's a lot of YouTube stuff. If you want to use YouTube, they talk about people that think they know a lot and they realize how stupid they really truly are. They're the ones that say, I'm the best. Oh, okay. How does that work for you? If you're the best, I'm just using that as a hypothetical situation. How could we test that?
Yeah. The genius at theoretical physics, a genius about a realm that doesn't exist. And then applying that non-existent realm to the real world. It's weird.
True. That is weird. That is weird.
Like the theory of evolution of species, divide or survival of the fittest, and applying that to society, like, you have to be cutthroat, you have to be a predator to evolve to the next level. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, that's how people are controlled by their ego.
Well, to the masses, that works. Once you start learning all the industries and all the, you probably know this face plant, but for the ones that don't, where when they start understanding all the dirty secrets in all these different industries, yeah, that is That is the predator mentality. You know, they might not do it openly. You got the bold ones that will do it openly, but the rest of them, they'll do the backbiting, stabbing, or whatever, and then use justification. I need the money or whatever. But even that, when people want to expand their mind, you know, imagination is one thing. But all the stuff that we know here on the material level, most people don't want to do pushback or challenge it. So how does this concept of the theory of gravity work? You know, what are those two objects in the sky? How do you know there's heat coming from there when I just jumped out of a fucking plane and it's colder up there? You know, people don't want to challenge those ideals and then ping pong those ideals with each other back and forth. And then what they'll do is, okay, well, let's just talk about invisible gods. Okay, well, we still can talk about who created all this stuff. You know,
Yeah.
trees, waters. Go ahead.
Or if you challenge a friend or somebody on the theories, you know, then they turn it on you, like, oh, well, you're a paranoid schizophrenic because you're thinking about this stuff. So that instead of actually discussing the actual thing that you're talking about, they're going to they don't want to do that. They don't want to face that ignorance within themselves. So they turn it on you, you know, saying, oh, well, you're thinking of that because blah, blah, you're a paranoid and blah, 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 you know.
It could be, but at the same time, I'm usually the kind of guy that will say, listen, once again, I'll just bring it back. I'm entertaining ideals. Do you think those ideals are yours? What do you mean, Dom? I said, okay, those thoughts that you just had, are they yours or are they anybody to play with? This is where the ego gets caught up. They think that they're the vessel and they're the thoughts. I said, I'm entertaining the ideal of the gravity and the theory. Two different words being used together, no different conspiracy theory. But again, what is it? You know, and then we can break down the meaning of some of these words. Theory, even when you break the word theo, R and Y, it kind of resides with the same with the word reason. If people understand what the English language can and cannot do. For most people, they don't realize how wide that indoctrination is. When somebody says, Dominic, I'm a philosopher, I said, okay, and then of course I'll hear, well, I went to university. I said, okay, this is more indoctrination. Well, I know Socrates. I said, more indoctrination. Philosophy is about the whys. It's not about who the fuck you know and what university you went to. And if your professor told you that, I said, you tell him next time you meet him, he's the student. You know, if you want to philosophize about things, sure, no different scientifically. How does things come to be? But when they make it about me, I'm quick enough to say, listen, how interesting a self-absorbed person makes it about me. Stay in your fucking lane. We're talking about ideals here. But if they're trying to confirm something, I said, well, again, what makes those two objects in the sky stay up there for that long? We don't have any devices that stay up that long. Air balloons don't fucking stay up that long. That's bringing them back down to what some people might call reality. So let's start using these languages. Let's use them for what they're meant to do, especially the English language. There's many meanings to the same ideal. But unfortunately, Facebook, a lot of people don't want to have that kind of conversation. They go into conversation to confirm things with their likes and dislikes. I'm right or wrong. Who the fuck told you you're right or wrong?
Yeah, and I know people that work in the medicine. Friend of mine, he's a nurse and a paramedic, and his wife is a doctor. And they're not going to see that this is all nonsense because that's where their money comes. What if they're going to admit that it's all wrong? Then what are they going to do? Give all that money back that they earned in a BS system, or remain in denial and not talk about it?
Are you leaning towards like pharmaceutical stuff, science-based plan?
Yeah, just the medical in general.
Okay. The reason I'm asking, because you said she's a doctor and he's a nurse or whatever. My question would be to both of them. I said, didn't you guys study chemistry? Well, no. I said, so then you would know what all these vaccines or medicines can and cannot do. Well, no. I said, then you're just a robot. It'd be like me being an electrician. And then somebody said, well, Dom, I'm an electrician. I said, yeah, but do you make the plugs and switches and the pipes? Well, no. I said, so then you don't understand that part. You just know how to install it. So in this case, most doctors, that just means teacher for oneself. They're not going to understand how viruses work. They might put way down their line and say the effects. It's when you start asking a doctor, okay, so what did you study in chemistry? Well, Don, what about you? I said, no, you're the one that's openly said you're a doctor. I want to know how far your grandstanding goes with me. It's always funny when people talk about their profession. I said, that's grandstanding. Let's break it down. Like you said, Matt Faceplant, you like to break things down. So at that point, so how does, a virus spread, energetically or not? How does cancer work? Because once you start talking about that, then people can start saying, well, I never knew that. I said, okay, now you're going to the Socrates. You never knew that. So then what have you been defending the whole time? Hopefully they'll come to the awareness. They've been defending their little wounded little ego.
Yeah, a theory. It's all theory in a realm that doesn't exist in reality.
Mm-hmm. But it's okay to have conversations in theory, as long as we keep it there. No different factual or an agenda. Factual for most people is written work that they've never experienced.
Oh, it exists, but it exists in their own head.
Unfortunately, this theoretical, non-existent realms of pseudoscience is what's running the real world. It's like an overlay on reality, a matrix, a net thrown over reality that you can't get away from to get to the real, get back to the actual nature.
That would be challenging for most of us Faceplant at this point. We're surrounded by nature constantly, but for us to actually pull away more from civilization for most of us would be very challenging because we'd realize all our comforts.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like going through life, you make these plans. Like I won a sports ticket and I bought some land, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to go out to the land and I'm going to be.
Welcome.
When I bought the land, is I just gave myself more work to do.
Mm-hmm. But it can bring fulfillment in the whole ideal of, work in the land, do some grounding. You can supplement yourself. You're practicing being a sovereign being until you find out, okay, but I don't own the land. I purchased something, but what did I really purchase? Again, that's the whole concept of, do we ever own anything here? Or is it just another illusion?
Yeah, I have to participate in the overlay matrix to try to get to the nature, right? We have to use the matrix to get out of the matrix because we're stuck in it, using money, etc. I can't just come along and just do shit without having money.
Well, you could, but it would be very challenging. Like very challenging. Again, I'm talking, you're probably like us, Faceplant, you've been civilized. So that matrix is usually in the mind. The body's its own technology. So again, we're spending an enormous amount of energy getting resources to fuel that vessel. Now, some people say, but I am the body. So then who's speaking? Where does that noise come from out of your mouth? And for a lot of people, it becomes like a brain fart. It's like an overpass. Well, I'm the body. So then who runs it when you're asleep? Who runs it right now? Who's running the liquids in your body? Now people can play with the idea of subconscious. Okay, now at least we're expanding the conversation. What is the subconscious? Why is the subconscious more superior than the conscious mind? And most of us only communicate when we're in the conscious state with our senses. Then that's when you open up to the idea, what is reality then? Is it based on a perception through those two eyes? Eye of the beholder concept. Again, that'll break a lot of paradigms for a lot of people if they start putting those kinds of inquiries into their programs.
I'm constantly amazed at just what happens in my yard with the different plants and flowers and how they all grow to the same height every year and they bloom on the same day every year. And there's something there that a real matrix of sound this stuff is growing into. Like when you see the pattern of the veins on a leaf, it's like a cymatic pattern that plant is growing into. And I mean, like some plants just don't transplant well. Like I tried to transplant some squash plants, and it's like you dig them out of the ground and they become disorientated. They have to reorientate themselves where you put them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I guess the study goes when people understand where all the luminaries are. That plays a role. What day it is, the soil contents that you're talking about, face plant. Yeah.
Yeah, you're shocking the plant, face plant, when you do that. It's like moving its environment.
And now with science and that, they try to tell us that they're saying, oh well, we're gonna do nature better than nature can do it, and it just falls flat on its face every time. But we just keep believing it, that these people know what they're doing.
They're just trying to figure stuff out or manipulate it, but ruining it at the same time.
Well, there's a lot of trial and error, you know. So nature is supposedly in harmony, chi. What we produce is more or less more. You know, even when they do immigrant migration, they understand the solars. They're just not migrating people just for no reason. You know, again, this is where people start studying the calendars in the skies. You know, and then of course it manifests itself in the physical. So the effect or side effect would be on the material part, the effect part. The cause is in the unknown. It's like we don't, well, I can say that for myself. I can't speak for everybody, but most people cannot, including myself, I can't see air. So I don't know the cause. I'll call it the word air, but I'll see all its effects. I'll see leaves moving. So it's, again, nature plays a role that way. So when you're planting something, face plant, like the word face plant, depends on the cycle, what's going on. Like certain plants do not grow in certain seasons opposed to other seasons. No different as years go by, squash might not work in the same place that maybe watermelon is. And of course you have complementary plants, you have the insect kingdom. That's very scientific. And there's people that have put the effort on all that. But for the masses like ourselves, we haven't been, that's not the purpose of schooling. It's just to make us better factory workers, become doctors, become nurses, become electricians and plumbers. I'm just using a couple of trades.
What's frustrating is that the controllers trying to control nature are turning the nature mean. Like if they just left it alone and stopped spraying pesticides, then the good insects would live and take care of the bad insects and so forth. Like when they start spraying shit, then the birds don't want to eat anything, so the birds leave because everything's poison, and that allows the even worse insects that aren't even affected by pesticide, like the aphids and white flies that are associated with these trees and plants that the controllers have around. Like all the trees in this city, the elm trees, they're a terrible tree, but they worship them. They have all kinds of programs like the Dutch elm disease control, and it's just a cover for something else. It's just you know they have to plant these crazy hybrid elm trees on the boulevard instead of something useful.
I guess, Flint, I commend you on your effort, but there's so many other things that we've done to interfere. What about the cars that we're driving? What about the planes over top of us? What about the Wi-Fi we're using? All that is actually manipulating the environment. Now, if there's such thing as gods in the biblical story, they manipulated the water. So maybe this is what we're destined to do. And as we evolve or devolve, we're not seeing the bigger picture because we're not there yet. So I get the part with nature. And like I said, I not condemn you. I compliment you on the fact that you're putting your effort in those areas. But at the same time, we're also doing things, and probably including you, as we're on Wi-Fi, that's going to interfere with the area where insects communicate with plants. You know, chemtrails is part of the reason why we have Wi-Fi. As much as people want to say, oh, but I don't like chemtrails, I said, okay, but you're using all these devices that probably is needed from that.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, we're destined to be hypocritical and trying to push back against this nonsense. You stand out, right?
I try not to. I just try to make more sense of it. And if I'm actually going to entertain the one side, I have to entertain the other side then. So for a lot of people, they'll just lean one way or the other. Now, I'm a Christian, and I think Muslims are terrible. I'm a Muslim. I think Christians are. Well, I want you to entertain both ideals. Try not to weigh in thinking to be a Christian or Muslim. Just take it for what it is. Same with all the other isms. So right now, we're in a realm right now where a lot of this has been foreseen in the signs in the skies. So this is how it's evolving, but we get caught up. It's all about me. We're all living in our own glass little bubble, and we're throwing rocks at other people, not realizing it's going to bounce back at you at any moment. You know, but I get it. It's, you know, my parents still do the gardening and all that stuff. I still eat my vegetation and all that. But again, it's one of those things. Are we really participating as a whole to be closer to nature? It doesn't look that way. As you look at all the cars, the buses, the planes, the trains, the boats, the Wi-Fi, the electricity, the high rises, like you can go on and on and on. And once you start looking at all that technology, that looks different than nature. The only thing is, nature's always going to overcome everything. We're just one generation to be removed, then eventually nature will go back to the way it should be. At that point, I'm talking about people when they talk about depopulation. You know, is it favorable to have depopulation when most people aren't participating and growing their own crops? If you're standing from that side, you might turn around and say, I see the advantage of that.
We do need depopulation.
But who's going to volunteer?
I don't think so.
Me.
I think
to be depopulated.
I think that's a trick too, Chuck. I don't think we need to be depopulated. I think there's lots of resources, but they're trying to cut back on the resources.
No, I'm saying depopulate the people who are creating all this evil chaos and pollution and all that.
What happens if you find out that's you? You're participating in all that. I get that we have enough resources, but most of us aren't participating in it. We're going to their grocery stores, whoever they are. Okay, just telling your boss, well, you're employing me, but I don't like the fact that you earn more money. I said, but you want the responsibility that I have? A lot of the dirty jobs I got to do? No. Again, that's a person talking from a me position. You know, if you want to go to an undeveloped country, even though they're classifying that, and then work on some swampland or whatever, you're allowed to do that. The earth is big enough, you can go anywhere you want. But then again, most people say, but I still want my car. I still want my cell phone. You don't need money. You might be able to have some of your needs or wants fulfilled by that piece of paper, but outside of that, it's of no use to you. You only have to condition the rest of mass society. Then it becomes, again, that we have the illusion thinking that we need it. You know, you bring money to a tribal family, they'll say, okay, come back in a week. Well, we try to use it on our boats, it's useless. We try to feed it to our animals, it's useless. So how do you guys actually play with this fiat currency and it works? Well, we need it. It sounds like you guys are a dumb fucking race. And that's where we're at. We're a dumb race right now. There might be the few that are trying to become awake again, but the rest of us are fucking asleep.
Do you ever remember playing the game musical chairs as a child?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and I thought it was just a crazy, stupid game. Like, I thought it was crazy when I was a child. I thought it was stupid, and that's kind of like grooming you for the society, like musical chairs. It's like the Survivor and Big Brother shows on TV. Yeah, fake reality created reality TV. When the real world doesn't work like that, they're trying to tell you that this is how nature works. That it's backstabbing and like that, and just to get you in that kind of mindset or habits that you're in competition instead of cooperating with people.
Well, the middle management that speaks represents whatever that unknown source is. They're not telling us that's the way the world is. They're telling you the way they're going to make it. And the rest of us that are on the earth dwellers, this is how we're going to participate. You always have that choice.
It's suggesting to you subconsciously.
Oh no, they're telling each other what they're going to do. They're not talking to you. They're not talking to me. When they say things like we're here to represent the people, they're not talking about you. They're talking about their nobles. Again, the media is there. Why would I have a boardroom now where I can actually openly talk with one of my friends in media? They're talking past us. So when people hear about, oh, there's 8 billion people, who's going to do the back check on that? Who's going to confirm there's 8 billion people when people have actually done they took in their own information and said, okay, we're going to add up all the major cities in the world and all the small little cities. We're at the most, we're at 3 billion. But they're counting on the masses like they do with religion. They'll tell you a story of Jesus, but that's as far as they'll go. Then nobody's going to question, well, then what's the teachings? And does it matter who wrote the fucking information? What is the value of that information? And then you go inwards and you start using your own comprehension skills. But for most people, they don't have that faceplant. As sad as it may be, we're divided with the trickery of divide and conquer with different religions, different states, different land masses. That's going on for a long time.
I'm cooking now, bro. You got them going.
Yeah. But to change that now, you would have to be aware how deep this has been going on. And the ones that reinforce it, it's the masses. It's like when people like to play the game anarchy. I said, you understand what monarchy is? Yeah, with rulers. How do you think anarchy, what rulers look like? Not as an individual, me, as the masses. It would be fucking chaos to no end. Women would have to fucking protect themselves. Children would be even more neglected. Because most human beings, they're just unaware of the fact that they're ignorant still. But because of a system, only because they give us the media. If we didn't know somebody else was doing in another part of the world, what would they be doing? You know, back in the day where people, at best, some of the people were able to walk a day's distance from where they were born. But today you see information, well, there's porn in another part of the world. Well, there's fucking poverty in my own house, let alone in down the street. What am I going to do about it? Fuck all. When, especially when people turn around and say, I only care about my own family. Well, then the fucking elites are doing the same shit. But the people that want, and it sounds like faceplant, that's what you want to do, that want to actually live off the grid, or maybe that's even the wrong term, you want to work with nature again, you're going to be challenged by the masses, not the elites. They're not even participating. At this point, they're going to tell you a story, and the rest of us are going to enforce it. It's like when people play the game of birth certificate. That only works if you think you're the fucking vessel. If you don't think you're the vessel, that piece of paper does fuck all for you. Anyway. I went on, sorry, faceplant and Charles.
That's wild. When you carry your birth certificate, it reminds me of like a serial number on an item in the store and shit. You know, you're just it's like branding a cow. You're their property. Carry your papers.
It's all maritime law. We're at sea. If
it's all an illusion, because it only works if you play along with that bullshit.
If you're driving on the road, you're not on the land, you're at sea and subject to the maritime law. Everything on the birth, I mean, even birth, the word birth canal, it's all maritime. If you're not standing on, if you're at sea, you're not standing on the ground. It's like those giant fishing boats. There's modern day slaves that work on these fishing boats. They're literally slaves, and they jump overboard and commit suicide because, yeah, they're working for next to nothing, and then when they get back to port, they just get given to another boat, right? They're just given to another boat.
They're pirates. The people that they say the globalists, right, have this one world government power, or they want one world government, however true that is. There was this video I was listening to. They were talking about Masons, Freemasonry. They're years ago, their secret to get to where they're at now, because they didn't want America to be a sovereign free country.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the division is just based on something completely false that doesn't even exist, and one side's arguing one side of the false reality, and the other side's arguing the other side of a false reality, and there's no room for the actual truth of what's happening in the discussion. Like, what does a little what is a virus? Does it exist as we're told it exists? Trump says it's the China virus. So, right? And yeah, and that's false. And the other side says, no, it's from nature, and that's false. When there's not even an organism called a virus. A virus is actually just something in your body that gets rid of toxins, and they weaponized it. They weaponized the word, the idea, and actually turning our own bodies against ourselves.
I think it's wild how people listen to the news and they just go along with whatever's said when they could easily look stuff up for themselves, and investigate. But most people don't. Even with the information in the palm of their hand. Programming's a motherfucker. It's mind blowing sometimes when you observe. When I observe other people, I start to observe myself more. It's like, do I do this and that? So
when you hear stories about people saying they go to heaven, I said, what goes to heaven? Does your body go to heaven? It goes back to the Maritimes law. What does it rule? Does it rule who I am, my essence, or does it rule my vessel? Even when you guys are talking about the body and the mind. I mean, in this case, you guys are talking about the self. Does Siri rule or does the computer rule? They're both programs. We're neither of those things, guys. Again, that maritime laws only works if you think you're the vessel. Now, you could be indebted when you actually remove another person out of that vessel.
None of that shit. Birth certificate, footprint, fingerprint, they could have it all. To me, that's all an illusion to get you to play along with their fucking bullshit.
But if
all that birth certificate and shit, that ain't gonna bond you to anything. It's a piece of stupid paper that somebody put together to say, I don't believe none of that shit.
Well, regardless if you believe it or not, Charles, but if you participated, and now you're actually getting into debt. This is where it's called a soul contract. Any information that you have stays here, but if you're attached to it, you stay here. Now, if you're doing the work and say, okay, I'm trying to pay off my debts to this realm because I've chosen to come into this realm. So you get birth. The body gets birth, you jump in it. That's why people do the astrology, all that kind of stuff. Why you think you're in the womb? Some people might be that, maybe. So again, that whole ideal, that's a distraction. Oh, Maritime's law. Yeah, your body of water is never in the fucking body. So who am I then? That now you're on the seeking journey. You're going to play what's called the fool's journey because the masses are too busy fucking asleep.
I'm still trying to figure out who I am and where I am.
Well, you can at least do calculation, what you're not. That's where you can use deduction. You're not the vessel. You're not the thoughts. If you were the thoughts, then why aren't you speaking French right now? Why aren't you speaking Sanskrit? Because you got to be conditioned to those language. When the vessel, when that thing is birthed out of the channel, does it know how to read? Does it know how to write? Does it know how to speak? It knows how to fucking scream. Like, fuck, I'm back here again. That's all programs. We're using a program right now when we're speaking with each other. To think you're going to break the system. No, you're not. Best you can do is understand the system and then realize, okay, where do I give my will to? If you're going to play with the will, opposed to think it's free will. To me, free will is the energy of fucking non-accountability. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Really, you can do whatever you want. And then why don't you fly like a fucking bird? Why don't you swim like a fish? Well, I can't do that. I said, then you're very short-sighted then. If a person's truly wanting to challenge the self, challenge the program, not others. That's a waste of energy. Especially when you realize you never live outside. Now, you could say, oh, Don, but I do astral traveling and all that. I said, but not in that vessel. So that again confirms what you're not. That was a high-tech suit. Amazing as it may be, it's like looking at a cell phone. It has receivers going to it. Now, if you're not willing to entertain it, then the question is, well, then what are you defending? What are you trying to reinforce? My stories that I've been indoctrinated with, I know that I'm doing that right now. And it irritates me to the fucking end to have me to talk about this shit. Because every so often I'll get somebody, I'm saying you guys are doing it, that challenge me. That's a wasted fucking energy challenging me. Do your own fucking way. Stay in your own fucking lane. Whether or not you go in the opposite direction, go in the same direction. Because if not, we're going to have an accident. And I'm the kind of guy, let's have a private conversation. Why? Because this way we can fucking let our hair down a little bit and say, okay, are you willing to be ripped a hole into yourself? Because you should have done it before. And if they're not comfortable with that, let me do myself in front of you. And we'll see how people feel. And go, well, Dom, I don't like the way you're talking to yourself. Why, are you going to defend me now next? If we're in this realm, I get it. People want to. Go ahead. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
You have to rip off the scab if you're going to truly heal.
Yeah, that's true. And then patch it up again. You know, I'm entertaining ideals here, guys. I could be way off. I could be that piece of shit, but I'm willing to entertain it. Where other people, no, they want to come in with pleasantries, which is fine. But how does it serve you to always feed yourself cocaine of pleasantries?
Huh.
You know, and vice versa. People can say, "Oh, you're very cool." I said, "Sometimes I choose to be that way." I just happen to feel a little bit shocking when I'm with Charles. Other people already know it's going to be noise. Well, Dom, what about you? Fuck off. I'm already sharing about me. But I don't always have to put my name to it. Let alone do I have to blame some leader in another part of the world that, fuck, I don't got a clue who he is or she is. And even that, if I was born in the same family as them, who knows? I might even be more crooked. I might do it arrogantly. Go ahead, Charles.
As much as I was thinking about, you know, as much as I want to make changes in the system, in reality, it's not going to change. But you do need to, it's better to just learn the system and maneuver through it better. And because these people got this place locked. And as far as changing the whole system, it ain't gonna happen.
Well, in our lifespan, guys, things have changed. Different cars have come. Different technologies come. That's a given. Change always occurs. This is what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to manipulate and say, "But this is the direction I want to go because I've saw somebody else." Well, then you need to ask that person. You're a club member. So would you mind sharing with me? Well, are you interested in being a club member? No, I'm just curious. And why would I want to teach you that? Same with a trillionaire. Same with a guy that's a crook. To be good at your craft, you got to put a lot of effort into it. And you're not going to be worrying about, am I going to get caught? Am I going to hurt other people? That's usually a given. Everybody has to be their own consumers, and consumer beware. We're going to consume all kinds of information, and YouTube is proven case. You can take all kinds of information, and if you're open-minded, you might be very, it could be very harmful, opposed to being receptive. to information. How am I receiving this information? What purpose does it serve, whether me or my family? I get it when people are going to try to say, well, mom, dad, whoever, you realize how the Illuminatis are doing this. They're going to look at you like a fucking deer in a headlight. And then you're going to try to change them. They're them trying to explain to you, do you know how it is to live from a foreign country to come here? Or how it is in the old days we used to just, we didn't have grocery stores. Most of us don't realize how much we become slaves, even more if there was such thing as a slave before. Because then you have to entertain the idea, what is it to become a master? Those are both programs running. You know, we go to people's grocery stores. We go to people's gas stations. We buy their technology. We use their fiat currency. What it may be, I can even give a couple of names. World Bank, IMF, Rosicrucians. That satisfies people. But how does it serve you knowing that, okay, well, most people are going to continue doing what they're doing, unaware?
Yeah, it is theirs. When you go into a store, it is their stuff. And when you buy a lottery ticket, it is their system.
Mm-hmm.
It's subject to their rules. You don't make the rules on it.
And even if we can make the rules, do we have the resources to reinforce it? They do, whoever they may be. And it's our own citizens. I don't like using the word, but that's what they were classified as, citizens that are going to reinforce it in the form of a military guy, a police officer, a doctor, a nurse. So to argue with them, I said, you're talking to low fucking middle management. It's even lower than that. The ones that are above that say, okay, so you're trying to tell me I should change my way and I'm making 7 figures. Would you fucking change your way if you have 7 figures? Now, some people say, yeah, I would. I say, you're full of shit. Why? Because you don't got 7 figures. Because if you did, you'd realize the challenges everybody has to go through. Now, a lot of this stuff, I've said this a long time ago, I'll say it again here. This is the kind of information, if it was really that important for people, this has to go underground. This can't be talking openly on a public fucking platform that they own. Especially when they're bringing in the credit system. I'm actually calling myself out on this shit. A credit system. So they're going to say, oh, you guys use all these type of words. Not liking the governments, even though they're not running it. It's the corporations. So next, when we have the digital system, good luck getting your fiat currency or whatever you want to call it. Now you can't use your digital system for a couple of weeks. Aren't they doing that here? I can't say certain words on YouTube because if I don't, I'm going to get striked. I'm going to be demonetized. Do you see how we're the in this case, the frog in the water? And we're openly giving information. I'm the kind of guy, I'm okay with it. Whatever happens, I'll have to deal with it. And if it fucks my family, then that's on me. But for other people, they don't realize we chat in chat box. We have this disobedient approach to it. Well, we don't like the government. Okay, well, what don't we like about the government? We don't like the fact that we get exactly what we want. We want ones that flip-flop back and forth. You got 2 guys running for candidacy in America. They're not on the ballot yet. And one actually at the last minute could choose to say, listen, I don't want to be on the ballot. So now you can have somebody else. But they'll basically are going to vote one of these criminal fucking people. But are they really criminals? Or are they just business people? Anyway, I deviate on that because I really don't really like getting that kind of shit publicly.
Have you, Dom, what have you noticed in the superstore? What changes? I noticed you walk into the store and there's 2 sets of swing gates you have to go through, and it's got a big plexiglass shields on the side. What the hell is that for? And now another swing gate. You can't go to customer services from the entrance door. You have to press a button and wait for assistance. And when you walk in, there's alarms going off. When you walk in the door, it's weird, man. And then just to get out of the store, you have to go through a long cattle chute to get to the self-checkout. And now you know they're watching you they've got cameras on you from the self-checkout. It's weird.
They're probably preparing something for the reset continuation. That glass thing could be for they're going to station probably security guards of some sort. Because we're talking about grocery stores, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a good chance as the prices go way expensive, they're gonna openly talk about the media is saying that there's a lot of stealing going on. Remember, that's them
Yeah.
controlling the narrative. It might only be a handful of stealing.
I'm talking to people. There's a lottery booth in the superstore, and I was talking to the Chinese guy there, and he's got a mask on. And I'm asking him, I said, "What's with this terrorizing people? This crazy alarm going off just when you're walking in the store?" And he says, "Oh well, it's about the theft." Yeah, like, well, what the heck's that gonna do about theft? Fucking terrorizing people with alarms when they walk in the fucking store. And cops.
They're always using those incidents to implement more law.
There's cops standing with cell phones in the store, and I walk by them and I'm saying, seems useless. I look at them right in the eye and say, seems useless, and then I keep walking.
Well, what happens a lot of times, Faceplant, they'll have a couple of citizens, in this case, police officers there, but it's usually the masses people are going to be concerned about. So say you're a person that doesn't want to wear your mask, the rest of you are going to look at you kind of strange and not realizing the energy that they're giving to you. So now you mentioned an Asian person. I'm assuming, like you said, Superstar, you're in Canada too. So what ends up happening, most of the Asians here in Canada do not have citizenships. So they're still being ruled from a distance from the Asian government. So if they're told to wear a mask, they got to wear a mask. It doesn't matter if all the other citizens aren't wearing a mask. Again, this is a different type. Well, that's a different type of an invasion. That's why they did that whole one child per family with the United Nations. They knew what they were doing. They know eventually some of them are going to want to leave the country, and we're going to do that willingly with them. The Asian culture is more obedient than most cultures.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And this guy never laughs, but I made him laugh one day. I was talking to him about the Sports Select ticket that I put in, and I said, look at my phone. I made this ticket on my phone at home, and I took a screenshot of the odds that they gave, and then when I put the ticket in, the odds were different. And I explained to him, I said, one time before, I said the odds were way lower. I said the odds that they were offering for the Celtics to win by more than 5 was 1.8. And then when I went and put the ticket in, it gave the odds of 1.37 for that. So I got my money back on the ticket. I told him, and he says, well, it's theirs. He says, you have to play by their rules, right? And I said, yeah, but it's not as advertised, and I can ask for my money back because it's not as advertised. And I showed him on my phone, and I said, in Ontario, I'm in Manitoba, and Ontario has a different lottery company. Like, it's all the same big thing, but it's and they give different odds in Ontario than they do in Manitoba. I said, I told them the odds are determined by how people bet. And I said, in Ontario, I'm telling them, in Ontario, more people bet on Toronto to win. So they give them lower odds in Ontario than they will somewhere else. And he just busted out laughing. Like, he knew already, right? But he gave a laugh. He gave a laugh like, I'm crazy, right?
No, there's possibilities what you're saying. I get it. AI controls a lot of that, actually, if they want to, especially if there's billions of dollars, bet on it. That's why they do money laundering with sports and all that. Now, just recently, they've paid another Celtic player an enormous amount of money, so there's a good chance Red Otterbark and the Celtics going to win a bunch of championships, because that's just how it's always been. And people that bet on it, yeah, I get it. It's like going to the casino. All that's being monitored in one way or another. It's easy to get people to be very obedient. Guys that are what are they called? The Mounties that work in the royal family or in all those places. It's probably in their contracts that you're being monitored, and if you smile when people are trying to make you laugh, you probably get fined for it. So again, it's easy to manipulate us and control us. The ones that don't give a shit are usually the ones that you wouldn't want to be around when there's anarchy anyway. Those are the selfish human beings. I want nothing to do with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the I'm gonna call it the scary part about it, that what we call some people, they just don't really give a fuck about you.
No, and those are the ones that are perfectly in those situations. You pay them enough money, give them women or whatever food. Next thing you know, they're like the Vikings that said, "You guys need to all be round up and fucking blown up." But I get it. Most people say, "What about the people that ruled them?" I said, "No, you got to go change. You got to go backwards now. They're the ones that have chosen it. Those will be like what people would call the Nazi kids." And a lot of them really had they had choices, but the choices are pretty severe. Do you want to join our gang called the Nazis? Well, no, I don't want to. Okay. The other guys say, yes, your first job is to kill your buddy. There you go. Do we have an issue here now? It's like when people used to do. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna turn the guy at the lottery booth. I'm just gonna let him know what I'm thinking is all I'm really doing. I'm not gonna turn him.
Usually those are the people face plant. This is going to be like a root kind of, we share with each other. Those are the guys, you already know where they're at. You could probably inform them when they're off duty, but most of them are going to say, well, I can't do nothing about it. Well, you are doing something. You're working for the system. It would be nice if you understood how the system works. Why would I want to know that? I said, okay, so you're like one of the person that works your whole life for fiat currency and don't have a clue how it works. And they'll brag about, I have a house and I sent my kids to university. I said, at that point, you're just a negative person just fucking getting by. And they can say whatever they want at that point. Well, Dominic, what about me? I said, you don't give a shit about anybody else. I know when I'm in the presence of somebody self-absorbed. It's all about them. Me. Fuck, read the Satanic Bible. Be done with it. Now, that might be harsh, but then again, I'm the kind of person, it's the few, not the many. And the few could be millions of people. The masses, no, they're going to get what they deserve, whatever that is to them. And I participate in, so it's not as though I'm beyond all of that. I participate. I go to the grocery stores. I say to myself, which one's the lesser of all evils now? That piece of meat that's useless, the fucking vegetables that have been when they were picked, all those stuff that are put in a package, maybe all that stuff that's canned. I already know I'm actually not that one that would be the unicorn, that I'm actually living healthy. But I do understand.
What chemicals am I going to consume today?
Exactly. What chemical and what mix am I going to make? But I do understand things like fermenting foods, how kombucha and all that. But it doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I understand health. I mean, most of us are going to practice it. And the ones that are going to practice it, they're probably going to get pushback. Well, why do you eat? Why are you a vegetarian? Why the fuck are you a meat eater? And what type of meat do you eat? Are you into domestic meat or wild meat? Am I eating wild vegetables? Or am I eating fucking domestic? Am I eating clone? Most people are smoking fucking clone weed. Same with liquor. I get it.
I think I am.
Yeah, Charles?
For sure. It's so powerful with chemicals. I couldn't even speak that much yesterday. I was so stoned. I was like, what the hell are they crossbreeding this stuff with?
Well, of course. Hey, we're going to do a 10-year reset, and let's sedate our citizens by telling the developed ones it's legal now. So let me wrap my head around this. It was illegal to put a plant into my mouth, and now you're saying it's legal. What fucking moron plays that game? The masses. Because what's next? It's illegal to eat tomatoes?
Yeah, they were putting me in jail when I was younger for weed, and then they want me to go buy a license because it's all right now because they said so.
Okay, so there you go,
I'll just keep doing what I want to do.
So you were put in jail. So who are the lawyers that? Who are the ones that made the rules? Who are the people that are prison guards? Who are the police officers and all these kinds? They're us. Do you see? The elites aren't participating in all of that. That's us. They're the ones that are imprisoning each other. And I'm probably, Charles, if I was in your area, I probably would have been the electrician doing the lights inside of that prison. This is the fun game.
Yeah, I've seen them come in doing work like that. Yeah. Yep, contractors.
So are they participating in the whole scheme of things? Sure we are. It's always fun when somebody said, Dominic, I'm outside of the... No, you're not outside. You're here. Don't give me that fucking moronic speech, I'm outside of the box. You're inside of the box. And there's many different spots in this box. How many millions or billions of them? Don't know. But once you realize, I wake up in the morning, nice heated house. I wonder who gave me that technology.
I've done some work building jails. 2 or 3 different jails I worked on, building the cells and everything.
and you got paid for it. Like most of us, we're going to get paid. So we've endorsed our enslavement. Now people could turn around and say, "But I didn't know." I said, "Ignorant doesn't count here." You saw, because you could still present them. I said, "But did you enjoy the food that you got from what you did?" "Well, I didn't know that." I said, "Oh, there you go. Now you're going to use Nishan on me now." We live in an age of information. That information is freely given. You no longer have to go to the library and get a resource book. You can just push a fucking button on your phone, on your laptop, on your computer to get that same information. Now, whether or not people have wisdom and understanding, that's a different story. But for most people, knowledge is a start, and most people are ignorant of it because they're too busy already thinking, "Well, I don't agree with it." I said, "That's your problem right there. Take the information for what it is. Don't go around thinking you have to fucking categorize it. And even if you do, let's say it is wrong. Let's play the game that's wrong. Is it wrong in this moment, but in the next moment it'll be something else? It could be. I'm entertaining at that point. And then if anybody spends time thinking about what me, Faceplant, and Charles says, I said, is it what we said, how we said it, or is it a pushback on one's own programs? Because most people don't realize how much we have these defense and attack programs running. I'll defend something I don't understand, and I'll attack something I don't understand. Oh, okay, so how does that make sense to me then if we're going to use the senses?
Yeah.
I've literally heard before people say to me, Faceplant, I don't understand you, but I disagree with you. I'm like, you realize you just said an oxymoron term, right? You don't understand what I just said, but you disagree with it. Because they already came into the conversation wanting to disagree, let alone agree with the system. I said, that brings no value to the conversation.
Right.
You're trying to endorse something. Oh, that makes me feel good.
Yeah. I appreciate that. You're calling yourself and me out, as I take it. I'm calling myself out on that kind of thing. I don't know what it's something deep in my programming that has me being like that. Like I'm thinking, well, there's Dom on the panel. I'm going to disagree with what he's going to say, even though he hasn't even said it yet.
That's fine. It's no different when people talk about words, when people parrot the word black and white. I said, so I'm going to use my senses, even though I know there used to be misled. I've met a Nigerian. He's not black. I've met an albino. He's not white. Yeah, but Dom, we're trying to categorize them. I'm thinking, really? I thought black and whites were magic. How am I supposed to compare a black phone to a Nigerian? I could be light skinned when I'm around a Nigerian. I could be dark skinned when I'm around an albino. Again, this is how people don't realize how much they're parroting words, but they're not questioning what the fuck they're repeating.
Yeah, and I kept telling people on panels, I said, I worked with Portuguese who are darker skinned than any of you. And you know what they call themselves? They don't call themselves black. They call themselves Portuguese.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. They're categorized with what landmass we live on. I get it. And we all have to be categorized. That's all the mask we wear. My name is Domenico. I'm an electrician. I'm a man. Those are all personas. That's not who I am, but I'll respond to those things. But when people go around making that who they are and they think, well, that's who I am. I said, well, then how do we entertain ideals when you think who you are and those ideals are you? You have to have discernment at that point.
Yeah, Dom. So you're an electrician. So as an electrician, who's the biggest asshole on a commercial job site to you? Probably a bricklayer. Me. And I'm a bricklayer. And who's the biggest asshole on a job site to me because I'm a bricklayer? Maybe a roofer or a plumber. Like it depends, eh?
But yet we're all there to help each other in the trades. We're all, whether or not we don't like our jobs, I enjoy mine when I'm being of service, but we're all working together. It's like a lawyer telling me, well, I'm more important than what, the tradespeople? Then what office would you be working out of? You need all of us. You need the bricklayers, you need the tile guys, you need the electricians, you need the plumbers, you need whether it's a roofer or guys that are actually paving the roof. We all participate. That's usually each individual personality. Some people call electricians prima donnas. I said, depends what type of person they are. You have the superior complex. Some of them, they think because they learned a craft. Everybody's role plays a role. To be a bricklayer is a craft in itself, a stonemason, you know.
Peace, Mind's Eye, Maggot, London Man, JG. Peace of the whole chat. You on that new song that the freestyle, more or less, Gods of War, that's on Sir Drop's channel. I'm gonna redo my verse. I'm gonna make it sound better. I'm a perfectionist, and I just feel like a few things have to be fixed on that song, or it's gonna bother me forever. I thought we were about to sing Jingle Bells for a minute. My friend was a plumber, and he had a shirt that said "Plumbers lay the best pipe," and I had a picture of some chick, and I thought that was a brilliant shirt.
I find, Charles, from my experience talking to different people with different crafts, once you get to know them and see their excitement or even their despair when they're doing their craft, you can still pull out the things that they do enjoy about doing it. You know, I get it. We do the same jobs over and over again. You can say that about most crafts. But when you get that person in that moment, yeah, I like being a bricklayer. I like being a plumber. I like being a painter. You know, and you just chit chat. And I know me a little bit. I'll bring up other conversations. So we can not always make it about our crafts.
Yeah, I've been on jobs where it was just such bullshit that I would just pack up my tools at noon and just leave and not say anything because it was just such bullshit. The people I worked with and the job, the employer, I would just leave and I'd work for somebody else. They'd still hire me back, but maybe not as much.
I admire that about you. I've done that myself too, right? Where you're trying to make sense of the job, and it's usually, say the job is disarray, you know, and it's like, I don't need to be here until you guys have anything organized, especially if you're there and you want to work. You know, you're not there just to fiddle your thumb. I know some people have that ability. They can stand around all day. Service guys have to do that, but when they're called to work, they got to work. You know, I like to get in there and I like to use my hands, because at nighttime I like to use my mind, even though I use that when I'm at work too, but it's a different time, different way I use my mind when I'm not working. But I can relate to you, Faceplant, when you say that. I did jobs with guys, I'm leaving. Where you going, Dom? I said, it's not worth me being here right now. But you need the money. I said, no, that's what you're saying. If I really needed money, it would be a different story. I said, no, I know I'm not going to let it be my enslavement.
Hold on, I gotta fix the settings because when you guys speak, there's crackling. Alright, go ahead. Speak now.
Speaker, hold your peace. Did you hear me, Charles?
Yeah, it was the volume, because, like, I've noticed through experience when people speak, if they're close to a mic or it, like, makes a crackle sound if it's too loud for that particular, you know, microphone or speaker or whatever. You ever take a speaker and, what did I used to do? I used to, plug the microphone into a speaker, you know, remember the jacks? on the receiver, you'd plug a jack in. I would plug the microphone jack into the speaker jack, or the headphone jack, and yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, but
well, obviously it's occurred to you, Charles. So why it does it? It could be the volume. It could be some interference of some sort.
it's just in reverse. When you take the mic and plug it in, you could, like, some microphones will you could hear the sound through them.
I know the last couple of days, if not more than maybe 3 or 4 days anyway, with a lot of solar flares, a lot of things are being affected, both us and technology.
This is what I think the realm is.
Love it. As above, so below. Polarities with the negative and positive things.
Some sort of machine, man. Like magic is technology. People that never seen technology before, thought these people had magic, but when you study alchemy and especially electricity. Where's London, man? I found this, London, if you're still here. It's from this book, but the point is that's the realm, and it looks like a crater. And at the center, it looks like there's the magnet, and kind of reminds me of a CD player, except the stars are spinning instead of the CD, and the sun and the moon being like laser.
In the absence of waters, if that was ever possible, we get in small samples. Would it just the Earth, the surface, would it not look like it's craters under the water? I'm speculating when I say that. So it's not far fetched to think that the Earth, is a crater. It's just it's overlaid with different kinds of things like the trees, the Earth, the water.
Yeah, I don't think there was this much water though at some time. And that's proven by these underground pyramids and stuff that they're finding. And plus, whoever built them were not our size because of the steps it's near Japan. You ever seen the pyramid? And the steps are so huge when they swam up to them, it made the people look like ants. These steps were huge. Like, whoever these gods were huge. Like,
or pretending to be gods.
Well, God. When I say God, I always forget people look at that in many different ways. But when I say God, I'm most likely, the God of myself, I guess.
Well, there's probably different tiers, and we could be a form, the essence of gods, but there could be ones pretending to be like the almighty ones. They could just be the ones that are lowercase ones. Ones that can manipulate the energies here, but they didn't create everything here, kind of ideal.
Basically, that's all that's going on is tapping into the energy that's existent. Manipulation. It's not like, yeah, you're right. Even a generator isn't truly creating. It needs energy to create energy.
Hence the word, we're harnessing it. We're harnessing energy. And again, based on what some people have been able to download and take with a grain of salt, whether the Asians, whoever they were, able to channel it, where there could be other bodies of water surrounding bodies of water. That's why they talk about maybe a possibility of different other planes, landmass surrounding the 7 dry land called Earth. Those are all possibilities, and it would favor why they keep people distracted with the flat Earth and the globalist ideal, because there could be more to the story, and those do have values, but we're only seeing it from a glimpse. Now, somebody could turn around and say, well, Dom, I don't think those things exist. I just think it's either the Earth or is the way it is, and two globes up in the skies indicate that we're in some sort of dome or something. I said, okay, so how does that serve to know that information then for you? You know, especially when you hear some people say, well, they have big channels. I said, those channels could be 1 million strong, but that's nothing compared to the religion that have 1 billion people following them. And they're easily been manipulated. So you're trying to tell me the people that are flat earth or globalists that have 1 million people following their channels are not going to be manipulated too? Sure, they would. You know, even like you're showing the picture, you know, they're telling us the continents, you know, how where Africa is and the size. Well, who's been able to give us that information? Am I to assume that the moon is some sort of solar disk plane? Is that the Silver City? And they're taking pictures?
People just accept these maps, right? Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't go out for ourselves and try to measure and like, you know, create our own maps because it's all handed to us. And that's, like I've always said on the channel, I have a problem with even growing up. You know, our whole reality is handed to us. I thought, my mom used to tell me, this is our experience. You know, there's one shot here as far as we know. And, you know, this is about my experience, but yet, what am I experiencing? Somebody else's fucking reality they drew up for me? You know?
I would lean towards that, Charles, you know, because, you know, if we were sailors in a boat, in a big tub, in this case, the ocean, I'm going to be able to like draw and say, okay, well, this is how Asia looks like. This is what Greenland, and that would have to be from a higher perch view. It could be downloaded into somebody and then they actually sketch it out. But anybody here that I know, you've been high enough to say, listen, Dom, I was up on a plane and I was sketching out how North America looks like and how South America looks like. Really? Interesting. One thing I see is two objects in the sky. And my question, the first question I usually ask myself, what keeps them up there? And are they material or are they images? You know, because if it's material, then we have to ask ourselves, what do we ever send up there that stays up there for long periods of time? Now, some people say a plane. I said, but you're missing the part that stays up there that long. You know,
I thought you were talking about stars. I don't think stars are like material. I think it's like sound and light somehow. The sound, something. I don't think they're like, we can't grab them or land on them. That's a fallacy that they created. But yeah.
Well, I'm going
with
what our senses can pick up. Yeah, what our senses can pick up. In this case, I'm not even entertaining clouds at that point because clouds come and go whatever the fuck they want. They can disappear and then come back.
Yeah, what are clouds? Is it the gas form of water, right?
That's one of them, sure. That could be one of them.
Isn't it like crazy, like these rain clouds? Like a rain cloud could just float. No other precipitation around it, but it's just floating, packed with water. I always thought, how is that cloud sponging that water, holding it, and then all of a sudden it'll let it go? It's pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah, it really distorts when people start playing with the idea of gravity or what's material. You know, people will go onto some sort of program and say, well, but it is what it is. I said, okay, well, that's too big of a leap at that point. Especially when you're talking to somebody that wants to know that kind of stuff. It's like looking at trees. Why are some trees the way they are and other trees aren't? Why are some trees able to bring certain types of fruits, others aren't? You know, a lot of us just make that quick jump over. So, well, that's just the way it is, Dom. That's just called a maple tree. I said, now you're just talking about how we categorize them. I'm talking about the object itself. I know I'm using a word by calling it a tree, but why is that tree the way it is and that one isn't? Well, I don't know those answers. So at least that person's being humble. Yeah.
Why? This whole realm, that's how it should be. Why? I was curious growing up, so I'm always asking questions. And then I rarely got answers that were satisfying.
Again, Charles, that's the whys are the philosophy questions. That's usually wisdom. You know, you're seeking wisdom opposed to just knowing. Me calling something like that's a green tree, that's just knowing. But why? You know, why is that tree there? Why do we call it a green tree? Then you could break it down. Well, we've been programmed to call it a green tree. Okay. Now, if they say to me, well, Don, but that's all it's always going to be. I said, well, then I can use a different language to describe the same thing. Oh, wait a second. Why did I just say the word describe? You know, then you start looking within the program that you're in now. you're starting to question things, and you realize the outside thing you can use. Yeah, you can use your two eyes.
What happened?
Sorry. JG, good bud. JG, you got to stop doing 720s with your skateboard while you're talking on the mic. Yeah. Again, Charles, that's like, again, you said it, and I value that stuff too. You know, those why questions, the philosophy questions. The hows are more or less the science question. How do things come to be? And for a lot of people, that's not of interest to them. They got their daily activities they got to do. They got to go to work. They got to support their family. They got to survive. You know, for the ones that want to entertain this kind of stuff, which I enjoy doing it, those are the type of conversation. The people that just want to come here and just be rude or disruptive, there's channels for that. You know, you want to play soccer? Go find buddies. I want to play soccer. Sorry, go ahead, JG.
I was going to say a lot of people are running from critical thinking. They're avoiding, you know, those emotions and everything that comes with it because they've experienced it before.
True. Or they could, some of them could be running towards, they just want to be entertained more at the people's expense, which is fine. JD, I don't know about you, but I don't mind entertaining people, but you better make sure you pay me a shitload of money to do it. I'll be anybody's puppet to a certain point.
Yeah, I'm trying to get these pictures to upload. There's some crazy cloud formations today. They were shooting some sort of energy up into the ionosphere or whatever. Atmosphere, ionosphere, the sphere. The sphere of air.
Say that again, Dom.
Sorry, JG. What's that, JG?
Say what you said again.
Oh, I was talking earlier, you were talking about people are running away from critical thinking. I was saying for some, if not a lot of folks, they're actually running towards being entertained. They want to be entertained. They want to hear that noise. They want to hear banterings of people back and forth. It'll be like me and you, JG. I don't know about you, but if we're hanging at a restaurant, all of a sudden a couple's just going at each other. My first question would be, I'm going to talk to the manager. I said, is this going to continue? Because if not, I'm leaving. That's noise at that point. That should be done in private. I'm not here to weigh in to say, oh, the woman's right or the man. No, that's just noise. They just don't have any boundaries. And a lot of the panels, that's what the people do. They argue with each other, which is fine. But, you know, and of course, the chats are just as bad, too, because then they go on, they start picking sides. Okay.
Right.
I think also, Charles, they've been talking openly about it. They've been doing a lot of, or that's what they say. I can only say what they say. Cloud seeding. So if they are doing the cloud seeding, that's more manipulation going on in our environment.
Yeah, they're only open about it because we're open about it and people are starting to see it for what it is. Like, when I used to tell my friends and they would look up and be like, what? I'm like, am I bugging? They can't be this stupid. I don't see nothing. I'm like, what? They're playing tic-tac-toe in the sky. I don't see nothing. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah, because most people don't look up in the clouds. Most people just either look straight ahead or looking downwards, or they're in thoughts about, you know, what do I got to do to turn money or whatever. That's just one example, how to raise my kids. So, yeah. Again, Charles, we're getting closer to, if not, we're in it now, the age of Aquarius. It's all about the air. So technology is going to be more pronounced. You know, you're going to see things that we probably have never seen before, you know, in clouds and all that. So fascinating. Clouds are pretty fascinating.
These are more like a blanket of metals, which I think is blocking. Maybe other countries fly cameras up there, you know, and they overlook, or they create these blankets, or they're transporting shit that they don't want us to see. It could be many tactics I think they're doing, and besides just poisoning everything, You know, there's more to it than just that. That's one end, because there's like the way these clouds look, they're like patches of cotton, and you can see the waves. Like right here is a better picture.
Again, there's different atmospheres. I think I'm going to just say one person's name. I usually don't do it, but Max talks about that. He has a good grasp on all the different atmospheres, or at least he shares about it. So we're looking at different atmospheres. So the clouds have different layers, and of course that's where people see the idea. Oh, I see clouds behind the sun. You know, because it's in different atmospheres. Again, I'm just using words that we've been given. Word atmosphere.
In this picture, you can see like behind. You see where it's messed up, like something flew through there and like messed it up, or I don't know what happened there, but that's the only spot behind me. The rest of the picture looks just like that. There's no. It looks like something flew right through that.
Mm-hmm.
But the clouds were starting to spin down there. You can see it near the roof. They're shooting fucking waves of energy up there. Maybe, because think about it. I think
Who's
about
doing it?
these powers they use. They can make it cold or hot just by frequency.
In your perspective, who's doing it? Like in your
Whoever,
opinion.
the government or scientists in their experiments, whoever, probably the German scientists that came over here. It's probably, you know, their children now. You know, they're passing it down, or their students, on their scientific research to conquer the world. No, I don't know. Like HARP, if you read about HARP, it states that they're tapping into the aurora borealis. My question is, why? You know, are they tapping in or harnessing, or
Or is that
whenever I
propaganda?
read about stuff, it's just like, is this really true? You know, are they steering us in the wrong direction, or
Yeah.
Some of it could be
is it a
done.
reliable source? That's, you know, what I question a lot.
Maybe they're harnessing energy from us being on the earth. You know, like when tribal people used to do rain dances. You know, so there's a good chance with all the technology that we're using, it is participating in whatever they're doing. You know, maybe breaking the glass ceiling kind of idea, where maybe all that clouds shaping or manipulation is occurring because we're here using all this technology, and in the process of using the technology, it's harming us or the vessels that we're in and the environment that we're in. Yeah, so for whoever they are, good question by the way, JG. We could use names, but I don't think they're the main characters. You know, I think they're just ones that maybe take orders and then pass it down the chain of command from corporations or generational wealth down to corporations, to club members, to governments, to small communities, and to our families. And next thing you know, you're going to university to learn about clouds, for example. You know, or you're going to be an astronaut of some sort, or a police officer. I think a lot of things that we do here on this plane affects the upper plane, and probably even below too, obviously. But to pinpoint it to one individual or one group of people, I don't think that would be strong enough. You know, we manipulate our environment by just having immigrants coming from one part of the world to another, which has always occurred. We move plants from one part to another. We move animals from one part to another. So all that could have an unhealthy result.
You got me thinking about the government now, because I know the government has control over the weather, but I want to do more research into that, how they do it, the whole process of that.
I guess the question would be, JG, what is more times now the role of the government? Are they like middle management? Are they there to be puppets for some other source beyond them, like whether it's military, science, corporations? Behind all of that, obviously, I'm going to go towards its human factor, but there could be even things beyond that. So, like, governments, like the governments in America or Canada and other countries, what role do they really play when you have something even stronger than them, which is the United Nations per se, or the World Bank?
Yeah, I should have been more specific instead of saying government, just like the scumbag like rulers, the elites, the people with the real power, top dogs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure. But at the same time, if they're the ones, they're probably also the ones that are orchestrating all the technology that we're using. So it's like a double-edged sword. Like, oh, I like my cars, but yet I don't agree with what they're doing with the weather. I don't like birth certificate, but I like fiat currency. This is the game that a lot of people like to play. And then they'll spend an enormous amount of time talking about Commerce Court, which is a waste of energy, by the way. But hey, I get it. I'm going to be a sovereign being in a physical form, and I want anarchy. I said, well, how does anarchy look like with the masses? I get when you're in your glass little bubble, but how does that look like? How does without rulership look like for a woman or for a child or for a handicapped person? Sucks to be them. It's usually some arrogant man talking that way. Probably a privileged one, knowing that he's in a type of skin that has privilege that is given to them way before they were even born. And then they play this game. Well, I go to Commerce Court, and I'm going to tell a judge that he's the captain of the ship, and I understand if I don't acknowledge my birth certificate, the fact that you acknowledge you're still in that vessel, you're playing a fucking game, you're just unaware of it, you're asleep. Go fucking smoke some more meth or cocaine. And then they use diarrhea of the mouth to confirm all of that. Well, I'm just not going to go ahead. Go ahead.
I had to laugh.
Seems like you got somebody in mind, Dom.
What's that?
Tom's got somebody in mind, but he won't say the name.
Oh, that's a lot of people. No, that's a lot of that. There is people. I get it, but how does it serve anything outside of oneself? I get why people do it, and I enjoy when people talk that way. But when they pound it over and over again, I said, how do you explain that to the average person? That, especially more times now, we're fighting among ourselves. Whoever these people are, whatever they are, they're not among us. The guy that's working as a judge, he's probably getting paid quite well, and he's not going to give that up. The guy that's the lawyer is probably getting quite well. Usually the one that's disobedient, that's in the court system, it doesn't understand how the rules work. Well, I don't want to agree with the rules. Well, then why the fuck are you living in civilization? Leave. Seriously, leave. All that technology stays here. Leave. Go take your fucking chance with nature. Don't bring your satellite. Don't bring your fucking truck. Don't bring your fucking clothes. Leave. Well, I don't want to. I said, now you're like the rest of us, whether they're aware of it or not. We're caught up in their comforts. We are the frogs in the water. Some people say,
it's inevitable.
Well,
it's pretty inevitable.
It can be perceived that way, but it's always nice to at least be aware where you're at. Then people can give that nihilist view and say, well, I can't do nothing about it. No, you've been doing something the whole time. It's just, is it constructive? Is it constructive to tell people the concept of a birth certificate when you haven't even told them? I said, are you even the vessel? Well, I think I'm the vessel. Now you can talk about the birth certificate, because you have to make sure that you don't peg down the mother elephant. You peg down the baby. You peg down that baby, that mother elephant will not leave. But if you peg down that mother elephant and that baby leaves, that's the child that most people are. That elephant will fucking break that peg down and with no problem at all. So for most people, they don't realize the birth certificate only works if you think you're the vessel. Now, they might turn and say, well, Doc, I think I'm the vessel. So then who runs you when you go to sleep? Who's running the liquids right now when you're communicating with me right now? Well, and then, of course, they'll make a quick leap. And they say, well, that's just my body. I said, are we talking about the subconscious now? Again, I'm going to use language that we're familiar with to describe those things. But they don't want to have that conversation. What they want to do is, I have a view, narrow as it may be, and I'm going to fucking pound it over and over and over again. I said, tell me when you're done. Why? Because you're trying to hit a bullseye when you're consciously awake. You would have been better to do it in the fucking dark. I wasn't leaning towards anybody particular, but it might sound that way. No, it's noise at that point, JG. You know, I'm noise. You know, it comes down to, how does this serve to know that information? You know, I would never go to a courtroom. I would turn around. The best way you win in court, you don't go there. The best way to win, you win at a casino, you don't go to the casino. But if you choose to go there, understand their rules. And their rules can be very nasty. You know, places like Canada and America, you're lucky because people can say, I can talk freely. I say, yeah. In other countries, you just disappear. Or you're hung upside down with fucking duct tape. And they say, this is what happens to anybody that talks that shit anymore. Now, those people, you might find out in the end, well, no, I don't give a shit. I said, so you've been talking, giving people the false sense that you actually care about them. No, it's all about them. And at that point, I'll say, listen, read the fucking satanic Bible, because that's exactly what you're doing. It's the me, which is nothing wrong with it, but at least be honest with the self. I wish the United Nations did the same shit that most of these communities do. Why? Because then nothing will ever get done. It'll be an advantage. Then we wouldn't have to worry about the elites taking advantage of us. Well, but at the same time, we wouldn't have any comforts either. We'd still be with a donkey and a horse, and whoever was good enough to actually treat their animals correctly or raise their crops, whatever, would be the ones that would be like what we would call giants. You know, they would be advantageous. But today, you can have a weak species basically give the illusion that they're powerful. I said, no, you're using some technology to aid that. You really want to fight an animal? Get rid of that fucking gun and that sword. Fight it man to man, or in this case, animal to human. I know I would lose. Oh, but I'm a meal too. Anyway, I went on. Sorry, JG, I went on.
That's why you got to carry your slingshot at all times.
Sorry, I was laughing when you said that. Well done. Slingshot or pea shooter. At least disturb the poor creature.
These angels are angels.
Yeah.
They're cooking with the sun? That's what it looks like. Or maybe doing some alchemy.
There's probably a lot of other things that we're missing in that, Charles. I'm going to speculate, you know, where the sun's located, you know, when they're doing whatever these things are. Like, obviously, these are pictures, and they're giving us something. Like, what are those? Are they bubbling something with the magnifying?
That's what I was looking at.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of guys heating their pools by having a strong enough like reflection of a magnifying glass, that what they say is they get this magnifying glass and the sun points through it towards a rock that's inside of a pool. In this case, it wasn't a pool, but a sauna. Yeah, I think it was man-made sauna, and it would heat up their pool because it's hitting the rock, and it has to be a type of stone that it just won't explode. And these guys are kind of doing the same thing here. They're heating up something from the rays of the sun. So now that opens the question, what are the rays coming from the sun? You know, we've been told it's heat. But then again, a strong magnet with another strong magnet, like say below us, hence us above, so below kind of ideal. If you ever felt 347, which I don't wish upon anybody, you will generate heat from within the vessel. So they're probably generating heat. It's kind of like lightning. Lightning comes from both the top and the bottom. And it always has a happy face in the sun. I think as generations go by, there'll be a lot of information that's going to be shared, and they're going to look at us as their forefathers, like we knew fuck all. Like, what do you mean they couldn't see auras? What do you mean they couldn't see? You can manipulate your emotions and your mental planes without always being caught up in the physical. That's why most of the stuff, Charles, it's kind of like I put earlier about it being a secret slash in old words, mystery. It would be a mystery for most people, this type of stuff. And it still is a mystery for most people, even though they're being presented to it. It's a mystery, meaning that how does it serve? What can I do with that information? Especially when they're always trying to think, okay, well, how can I earn more money with it? Okay, so you think that's the only reason that information serves, is to earn more money? No, JG and Charles, I think I went way too long. I'm getting tired of me yapping. So thanks, guys.
My bad. I had a phone call.
I got kicked off.
Thanks for coming up, Dom. Appreciate it. I'm gonna jump off in like 10-15 minutes anyway. I gotta do a bunch of crap that I never want to do, but unfortunately it has to get done. Shit, I hope people like that verse I put. I mean, actually, I like it, and I think it's probably one of the best verses I've written in a while. And the crazy part about it is, I didn't like sit there and really focus, I just let it float. I wasn't sitting there battling myself and getting writer's block and getting mad. I just let it flow out. And it came together like a fucking puzzle. I don't know why I started it saying Drake, Dragon, Draco, Draconian, but that's just how it started. I was thinking of all those words like Drake and Dragon and Draconian and Draco, the constellation. And if you pay attention to Sir Drop's verse, the way he talks about Mars, right? Because you know Mars is the god of war. So if you take in Mars, if you take the M and flip it up, you got wars. Is that a coincidence, or is that the work of sacred geometry? Matter of fact, I want to hear the song again before I jump off, because I like it.
Between earth and God, I'm a byproduct. I come from a family of Between earth and God, I'm a byproduct. I come from a family of hustlers. That byproduct, money is the root of all evil. But I'm still trying to find a large profit. It's a mirage, they live in a facade. I was smoking die, had a talk with God. She told me why she named me John. I art the scriptures to shed light on the darker picture. If you my dog, I'm barking with you. You feeling the star wisdom. My homie Chuck told me it was giants on Earth before me. And chemtrails, we inhale. That's another story. Mercury is used to check temperature. The sun is the spirit sinking. The moon is the portal. Assuming you important. Set your turn. Mars is wars. As
you hear me?
Turn. And change words. I'm in the game, but change service.
What?
Yeah, my fault. I keep getting kicked off and then it's just try again. This whole StreamYard pain in the ass. I got a fucking perfect connection.
You couldn't hear the music?
I keep kicked off.
StreamYard needs to make it so I could pause the fucking song and then play it. They don't have pause. Once you stop it, that's it. You gotta start it over. And I think that's weak, considering, you know, that's like, oh, see, they're booting this dude out. That's wild, man. StreamYard, you need to fix these issues as soon as possible. What do we pay money for?
About the disassemble a bomb, I ain't nervous.
Well, I guess you could pause.
Drake, Dragon, Draco, Draconian, land of the giants, ice wall, Patagonian, lexicon, word wizardry, speaking Babylonian, highway to the vortex, shooting out the fallopian, low vibrating light, king of the material, mark of the beast, nanotech, scanning serial, the mental dead, carried by 6 to your burial, the lights is out, no resurrection, broken power grid, no interconnection, the grim reaper, I'm so collecting, 6-shot, hollow tip, rubber grip, Smith & Wesson, bitch repent when God is in your presence, your aura is weak, uproot your essence, I walk through darkness, highly illuminated, eyes blazing with fire with blades double serrated, hunting down clowns I double hated, hit so hard your jaw is elongated, shatter egos like they was glass plated, this was long overdue, past dated, one shot deal, it is as is and no recreation, all praises due to my parents for making, always appreciate and never abated, one.
The A is the M, like the A is the E. Where earlier I said, hey, you know how somebody say, hey. That's AI. And that's the dream, like, don't people say, hey, I'm dreaming. Am I dreaming?
Peace out.